What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Risen Divine League. We are kicking off our playoffs of the latest season here with a banger matchup between Primal Instinct Black and Iridescent Dawn Neon. My name is Gordo. I am joined on the desk today by Goferino. Goferino, how are you doing on this Tuesday afternoon?
It was a very hot day today. Bonfire can relate, except that fool's in and out. So, other than that, though, been pretty hyped for tonight. First week of the Divine Playoffs here. This should be a pretty good matchup here. Even though I think once we all see the predictions here, we can see that it is Primal Instinct Black favored. But I do think Iridescent Dawn Neon will keep this series close.
For sure. So Primal Instinct Black come in as the second seed out of Group A, Iridescent Dawn Neon as the third seed out of Group B. Overall seeding-wise, Primal Instinct ends up as the third seed, Iridescent as the sixth seed. So a pretty close matchup, all in all, as far as the main seeds go. This is a full-on double elim playoff bracket, so whoever ends up winning will move on to those winner side semis. But whoever drops down, they're still going to have some opportunities to come back as we run our way through the bracket, but gonna be a tough run to try to go through losers all the way from round number one. So definitely a big deal to be able to take a win earlier on. But as you're calling out there, Goverino, let's check out these predictions that we have from both us here on the desk and our two casters today. As you alluded to, it is pretty Primal Instinct Black favored.
Yeah, there wasn't too much of a doubt here. Slayer. Oh, the one who shall not be named, Bonfire, will no longer have a name. But Slayer, the only one here, rocking the 2-1 vote as usual. Not too surprising here. Primal Instinct Black have been pretty solid all season long, only really dropping games to the top teams, if I do remember correctly. Whereas Iridescent Dawn Neon, still pretty solid themselves, but a little bit more shaky. Dropping some extra games here and there. That could bite them.
Yep, and I feel like we've had Primal Instinct Black on stream a number of times already this split, it feels like, and I gotta keep calling this out. These guys are competing over an ACL as well, which is an uncapped league, so they're really fighting. Hey, Bonfire's name's back, and they're really fighting with some of the business over there. Challenger players, Grandmaster players, you name it. Some real tough teams to go against over in that league, and they're holding their own pretty nicely. They did just lose a heartbreaker game 3 to a backdoor in their first playoff match in ACL
Oh,
yesterday. So I'm geared up, as is Caddy, who also had to bear witness. I'm geared up for a big Primal Instinct Black comeback today. They're the favored team over here in Risen Divine. They've had a fantastic run so far this season, and hopefully they can build up a little bit on what they learned from their defeat yesterday. Still looked really solid, and we're on the verge of a major comeback. Just barely didn't manage to make it.
yeah, that can be a tilter. Of course, this is a completely different day. It is a completely different league. But that's definitely a tilter losing to that backdoor in game number 3,
Yeah,
to
it's
say
rough.
the
I see
least.
Nick Nix is in chat saying he's still going to int, so maybe they aren't going to learn from what happened last time. But I don't know. He was popping off though. He had a sick Gwen game there to close things out, but didn't end up quite getting it done. See if they're able to get it done today. I've been impressed though this whole season with their ability to play out, particularly front to back team fights. Like their kite back and disengage comps have really impressed me. I find they're at their best when they're on these picks. Like the Ashe bot lane is really a huge one for them, for Key Lime, or for they've been running oh, what's the sub's name? They've been running a different AD carry for a while. It's Suki Top. And Suki Top has also been a big user of the Ashe. They've been having a lot of success there. They've been able to get a lot of really good carry junglers out of the side of Laneless. He's been playing a lot of the Belveth and a lot of the Kindred. And I've really liked to see how they've been able to execute on those sorts of compositions and really be able to play together as a team and have some really great team fights. So that's what I'm looking forward to out of them today.
And they definitely have shown up on stream. I was checking just now. We've streamed them twice so far this season, so this will be their third appearance here. Both times they have 2-0'd. Of course, they've 2-0'd all their games except the one against no. So maybe not so much of a bit of correlation there, but hey, you know what? We'll see if they continue the trend with the 2-0.
Indeed, we will. And it's been a really solid season so far out of Iridescent on Neon as well. I've been really impressed by Meow Meow Mix and what they've been able to show. Been playing a lot of the Mundo lately. I don't know if they've busted it out in Risen Divine yet, but I definitely see they've been playing it in solo queue and having some really solid performances there. Would love to see that one end up coming on through.
And I think we're ready for champion select, if I heard Caddy correctly.
Yeah, looks like we're getting into it. So we're going to throw it over to the caster desk to break down Champion Select, but we'll be back afterwards to give our thoughts. We'll see you guys soon, but we're going to throw things over to Slayer and Bonfire. Take it away, guys.
Oh, thanks, Gordo. I made the catch. Don't worry, guys. We're back here with Draft Slayfire here to take you through our game 1 draft. And Bonfire, we get out the way out the gate because I definitely think Primal Instinct Black are the ones that are going to take it home, but I want to defend my 2-1. Iridescent, Dawn, Neon, in their one game they showed up on stream, easy 2-0. And the fun fact I want to throw out quickly, Bonfire, they have never been swept all regular season long. In both their losses, they went to 3 games.
That is a pretty fun fact. Yeah, I'd love this to go to 3 games. I think the more games of playoffs, the better. But I am going to have to agree with Gordo's points. But hey, to give credit to you, IDN, not a pushover at all. And it shows in these bans, a lot of respect bans being given over from PIB, the LeBlanc, the Blitzcrank, not really super meta. But you just imagine you never really want to see a Blitzcrank in the bot lane. And then Gordo had talked about that Gwen that PIB played.
Yes.
We're going to see a ban of that along with the Annie and the Bel'Veth, which is interesting because I don't rate Bel'Veth incredibly highly on the junglers, but if they snowball, it's over.
I feel like the state with Bel'Veth right now, Bonfire, is the really good Bel'Veth players deserve the bans because if you let that through, they can terrorize it. But as a general sort of rule of thumb, Bel'Veth not really the highest prioritized jungler, so there's some respect being given over to Laneless there on that Bel'Veth. I'm glad you pointed out that Nick Nix will not be able to use that Gwen in game number 1, at least. Such a potent hyper carry, but here's what Iridescent, Dawn, Neon wanted with that blue side. It's that proverbial B1 pick, and there's still a lot of great options up on the board.
Yeah, I was watching a Cadril stream a little bit ago, and he had said that in the LPL, blue side wins like 92% of their games.
Wow.
And so blue side incredibly strong right now in the LPL. You'd imagine that trickles down to these lower leagues. There's so many good champions where if you're able to first pick them, the counter picks just don't do nearly enough. And you have to think Kai'Sa is one of those champions. Is looking at a nerf in the face coming up, but it doesn't hurt the strongest parts that Kai'Sa brings to the table. And so is still either a must pick or a must ban champion.
Yeah, those AP ratios differ a little bit. Just to remind everybody home, we are on 13.14 patch right now. No Nefiri allowed. It's banned throughout. I'm pretty sure the rest of Divine playoffs, unless I get corrected, certainly would be banned for this week. I can assure you that. Good response here, though, from Primal Instinct Black. One of the lesser talked about bottom lane combinations, basically because Melio has been nerfed, but that Ashe-Melio combination has been a sneaky terrorizer of bot lanes.
Yeah, the range that you get, the ability to track somebody down with the perma slows, and then you build, I believe, Triforce on Ashe now, and it just is an absolutely impossible bot lane to go into. So we'll see if the uber strong Kai'Sa can deal with it. You'd imagine they're going to pick an engaged support here, or they might wait so that they can burn some bans from PIB, but a Rel, a Nautilus, something of that sort, very strong with Kai'Sa. I like the Wukong as well because you get that engage. Thresh does that as well, although I do think you probably wanted something a bit tankier, but Thresh does give Kai'Sa a bit more survivability against an Ashe Arrow or something of that sort.
Thresh is the Swiss Army knife of supports, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to just go blanket Swiss Army knife, cover kind of every base, safety measures with the lantern, peel ability with Flay, engage ability with the hook and the box as well. You can go for Thresh, but you can get caught Bonfire like you were talking about. Because it's a Swiss Army knife, it's not a specialty in any of those roles. And you would have maybe want to see a little bit more engaged besides Kai'Sa. But Thresh is always a safe pick nonetheless, as we close out these first round of picks with the Lilia locked in. In its heyday, Lilia was a flex pick in a lot of drafts, but it feels more jungle centered now in the current meta.
Yeah, you don't see the Lilia locked in every single draft or banned every single draft, but it's just one of those champions that you can always have in your back pocket. You need AP, You need somebody to just kind of be a menace. If you need engage, also not terrible with the Lilting Lullaby. So
Right.
Lilia is just a good champion to have in your back pocket. I personally really enjoy playing her. I know a lot of people do. And yeah, again, she hasn't been nerfed into oblivion, and she also hasn't been buffed into you need to pick her or you lose the game. She just kind of sits in that perfect middle ground. And obviously they have a plan with her because there were a lot more meta junglers up. But when you pick the Lily, you'd have to imagine you're going to go tank top, or maybe a Galio mid. But you'd imagine there's going to be a tank top for PIB.
It does open up those carry duelist and bruiser top lanes as well for Nick, and you can see maybe IDN are thinking along that ideology. They immediately take away the Kale as Nick continues to receive so many bans across multiple leagues and a lot of drafts. You kind of heard Gordo allude to that, excuse me, before we got here in this champion select. Ari, another good late ban though, coming across from Primal Instinct Black. Still one of those premier junglers to select in drafts right now is, looks like IDN maybe missed that ban. I'm sure we'll have a clarification on which champion that was taken away.
Yeah, it will make a big difference as we're hearing now that it is the Jace. And so Jace mid, really, really strong right now, especially with the AP jungler. Makes sense to ban it out. And they pivot towards the Syndra. So they have quite a lot of AP right now, which
I like it.
I think is not bad, but it does mean that if there's a tank top laner that builds MR, that could be an issue. Although I do think IDN needs a little bit more consistent damage in their comp, so you'd imagine they're not going to pick a tank, maybe a bruiser. But yeah, when you overload on AP, sometimes that can be an issue. Doesn't look like it'll bite them in the ass this time.
I am a fan. Is that okay?
That makes
Malphite?
no sense to me.
I mean, you wanted that tanky front line that can stack MR. The Malphites, there's no better champion to do that than Malphite in my mind, so I actually don't hate that pick a lot for your Meow Meow mix. But from what we've seen from Meow Meow mix this season, I do kind of feel like the Malphite can limit what you can do in game. But for the pure stat of just stacking MR, Malphite will be pretty unkillable for Lily and Syndra.
Yeah, I would have hoped for a different.
Oh,
there, now it all makes sense, Slayer. I was about to say I would have hoped for a different tank like an Ornn or a Scion, rather than a Malphite who tends to do better into AD. But yeah, now it all makes sense. They're going with the knock-up bros with Yasuo and Malphite. So, and you've got the Wukong as well. That makes a lot of sense. And IDN, all things considered, not a bad draft at all. PIB are going to pick that tank top laner that I was expecting.
Yep.
It's going to be that Scion. And yeah, I think both these drafts honestly kind of hit it out of the park in their own special ways.
Yeah, certainly true. And it is unfortunate because I feel like the highlight of this matchup, Iridescent Dawn and Neon versus Primal Instinct Black, is the top lane matchup. Like Gordo said there, I think Nick versus Meow Meow mix will be really fun to watch. It's going to be a snooze fest in this one. Scion versus Malphite is not very fun, but both looking to have serious capabilities later in the game.
Yeah, I think that if we ever pan top Caddy, he's going to lose his job. Like, producer should never go top. I'm letting you know now, Caddy. We're going to have issues if we're looking at a Malphite versus Scion trade. But in the mid lane, a lot of fireworks. Syndra versus Yasuo. That's pretty banger. And then Ashe Melio versus Kai'Sa Thresh should be a lot of fun as well. I mean, you would fully expect this game to scale. You'd also fully expect this game to be absolute bonkers, off-the-walls team fights. And so I'm excited for that, but the laning as a whole across Summoner's Rift gonna be a little bit boring. So if you have to pee or something, you might want to do it in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Well, you know what? It won't be boring, Bonfire. Heading back to the analyst desk here for the Divine League. So let's throw it back over to Gordo and Gofrino to see what they think about this Game 1 draft between Iridescent Dawn Neon and Primal Instinct Black.
Thank you very much, Slayer. As we are back on to the analyst desk, we've got our draft going on right down here, and it looks like not going to be too many spicy rotations coming on through as far as which champions are going where. I think we can figure that all out from the draft, but I'm really excited to see how these teams are going to be able to execute. I love to see a Malphite Yasuo coming in here from Iridescent Dawn, but this is a classic Primal Instinct Black composition. They got that Ashe that they love to be building their team comps around. They got Laneless on a carry jungler, and it really feels like this is the exact kind of playstyle they usually want to go for.
Did we change to Times New Roman for champions?
We might have. That looks like
Might
that's a
have.
different font for sure. There's been a
Yeah.
font change.
Caddy's been saying the font didn't update. Oh, wait.
Oh,
Okay,
there
now
we
that
go.
looks familiar. Yeah, the more broad and fatty letters here. Yeah, definitely a very pig-looking comp here. Of course, though, I mean, Iridescent on Neon. This is a ride or die composition. You don't exactly have Siege. You're banking on your fatty wombo combo here. And if that doesn't work, there can be issues here. But you have Malphite plus Wukong to set up a Yasuo Kaisa. So they definitely have some pretty easy fire tools here to get this whole ball rolling.
Yeah, I will say the big difference maker, not only the Malphite Yasuo combo, but this Kaisa. This Kaisa's broken. This champion has a few balance issues at the moment, Gopherino. It just does it all. And Kaisa's been out of the meta for a while, so we don't really talk about it much anymore. But this champion does too many things. It's a poke champion, and it's an assassin champion, and it's a DPS champion. It just does it all. And when it's viable and in the meta, it is a big problem to have to deal with. And if she gets rolling up against Suki Top and Janikar, that is going to be a major issue.
Yeah, of course, though, it is going to be rough to get going against this lane if you're not able to land hooks here, Stringy Bird, because you are going to get outranged so hard by Suki Top and Janikar. And if you're just going to continuously get poked down in laning phase by the flaming soccer balls, by those volleys, by the fact it is a 625 auto range ADC versus a 525 auto range ADC, it is going to be rough.
Yeah, for sure. The range advantage brought by the Ashe can really swing that lane, and especially with the addition of the Melio to boost that up, definitely favor them in the 2-on-2. We'll just have to see if Still Learning can try to influence that over in the bottom lane, although I do love the Lilia into Wukong matchup as well. It really gets to bypass a lot of that extra armor that Stone Skin gives you. Wukong also just has really high base armor. You get to avoid those when you do go for one of those AP-style junglers. Does mean that pretty much all the AD weight is going to be on Suki Top's shoulders in the form of this Ashe. It's going to be a heavy magic damage comp split between the Lilia and the Syndra. But, you're up against Malphite. He's generally an armor tank. He's not, he's going to itemize MR. He's got to this game, but it's not his favorite place to go. It doesn't give him all of the juicy ratios that the armor does.
You can still go armor first item here as Malphite, because you are going to be leaning against Zion for the most part, so, you know what, I think it's fine to get like a first. Or just do the classic, go bombies into the mythic like the Jack Show, or it's usually Jack Show, honestly, but either way, nothing too surprising in the runes here. It's going to be Grass Spores up top lane. See who wins on that one.
Grass Spores, I will call out no Demolish on the Malphite going in for that Shield Bash instead, so gonna make a bit of a difference, gonna make it a little bit more difficult to cash out if they do have a jungler visit up there. If we want to really read into it, I would say this means that Wukong going to likely be pathing towards the bottom side. If you were expecting your jungler to come visit you as the Malphite, you might want to take the Demolish and make sure that you can cash out on that extra gold.
Yeah, Conqueror Lilia, not something I'm used to seeing. I have seen it before though, and I wouldn't be surprised if the runes have changed, because I honestly have not been keeping up with Lilia all that much. Usually you see the phase rush though. Or the Dark Harvest. I think Dark Harvest is a bit more of an ARAM thing. Futures Market, that's definitely interesting. See what you can enable in terms of first back. Other than that though, I mean, this is pretty stock standard so far, including this mid lane. Like, yeah, it's lethal tempo Yasuo. It's first strike Syndra. That's also pretty good.
Yeah, that is interesting. The last time I remember people going for the tank Lilia, it was, or for the Conqueror on the Lilia, it was often for those more tank-centric builds where you would go like the early Frozen Heart, maybe something like a Riftmaker as well, just to try to sustain up with the boosted healing that you get from that Dream Dust nowadays. Kind of got nerfed on down, got tamped down a little bit when it started to be a build, and now she just mostly goes full AP again. I would expect that out of laneless, but we will see how it ends up going. And notably, that's a Hail of Blades on the Kaisa that probably signals that they're not going the Static Shiv build. It has been nerfed once again, so not quite the sauce that it used to be, but the Kaisa still very strong.
Yeah, interesting. No approach velocity here for this Ashe on Suki Top. That is a very popular rune on Ashe because it just lets you just chase down people so easily, which can be pretty damn big in this matchup against the Kaisa, because Kaisa without the Evolve D has a really hard time just getting away from you. I have seen some Kaisas with Halo Blades go for the shift though. Halo Blades just seems too for Kaisa. And yeah, act surprised. It's Glacial Augment versus Summonary here between these two supports. Once again. Solid.
Yeah, going for what you expect. You want to make sure that you get the bonus poke and the bonus shielding out of those Fuemigos coming out of Emilio. And going to be, I expect, some action towards the bottom lane. I think both these junglers want to be centering down there. It's where the Kai'Sa's at. It's where the strongest champion's at. And it's also, if you can get a little bit of a lead to the Ashe Emilio lane, that's kind of the exact way that Primal Instinct love to play their game. They want to be able to unlock this Emilio to go and influence some of the other lanes, and even though he doesn't have the best ganks, can still nullify some of those thresh roams. And you want to be able to set that Ashe to be able to hang out on their own, farm with the superior range, and plop out those enchanted crystal arrows as necessary. But I hear us spawning onto the rift in the background go for Eno, so I think it is time to send things back on over to Slayer and Bonfire. Take it away, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you so much once again, Gordo. Playoffs. We're not talking about playoffs, folks. We're playing playoffs. Finally here in the Divine League Summer 2023 split. And it's all about starting off with the right foot forward, especially with two teams we expect to be big players this year round.
Yeah, both of these teams starting with the right foot forward, but they're in the wrong continent. It is the Battle of Asia, and the other team is in South America, and they are not going to meet each other. So, yeah, took a wrong turn at a certain ocean, and suddenly that's about it. So, attack is 5, nothing happens. I got to say, I was looking at Emilio's splash charts, totally unrelated. So, if you're watching solely for the analytical breakdown, mute it now. But Emilio looks like he could be a character in like Encanto or like a Disney movie. And I just thought it was interesting. They really went super like cartoony with his design. And I kind of like it. And I haven't really looked at his splash art as closely as I just did.
You know, that's a fair point. I feel like if you had to say which League of Legends champion goes the closest towards a Disney-style cartoon, Emilio would probably be at the top of that list for me as well. So, it's not analytics, but Bonfire will bring you some interesting tidbits. And, well, hopefully we hope to bring you a very interesting banger series to kick off the playoffs.
Yeah, I have to get my little bit of rambling on before actually, important things happen and I need to focus up. So I figured while we had a chance and while both of these teams went with their pretty stock standard early games, both teams just starting in the pretty normal positions. You've got a top side start for Still Learning and a bot side start for Laneless. And yeah, both of them, I don't believe are doing any invades, and it looks like they're just both going to do a full clear. No skipping of camps, nothing of that sort. So pretty boring start for both of these junglers, and no crazy trades as a whole, as that's going to be some good damage for Platypus, but nothing more. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much to break down right now. Both of these teams playing like it's the playoffs, which it is.
Almost like you talked about the fact that viewers could go to use the bathroom in the first 10 minutes of this game. Bonfire. Almost like that. We did get a look at that mid lane matchup. I do want to say I am a big fan of Platypus running the first strike here. I feel like on Syndra, it's kind of a blanket taken at the moment, but you can flex the electrocute depending on the matchup. But range versus melee, Platypus is going to cash in as much as possible. It looks like Heppo's roaming up. They're trying to knock down Laneless. Now, Heppo is kind of cut off by Platypus, doesn't have Scatter the Weak up. They do force the flash. There's the slow flash across now from Laneless. Scatter the Weak doesn't land the stun, but Heppo is so low. Ignite on top of Laneless. It's a trade of fights, and it's first blood over to Platypus. Will be traded out by Still Learning, but some serious cash in the mid laner for PIB.
Ends up being a 1-for-1. Heppo just overwalking right there, trying to get something going. There's a hook, but
good death sentence gets the play. Ignite over top. A couple more autos nearly takes him down, and Janikar does fall. But look at this. Suki top trying to turn things, forces the flash out of Stringy Bird. Return flash, the lethal tempo going. The Flays just to stall it. Suki top will find one, but it's a huge kill for Confused. The action isn't even stopping at this point either. Look at Still Learning, just chasing Platypus. Gets the dash forward. No flash on this Syndra. Tries to get the slow. Does have Laneless here. Still Learning is far too low to try and continue this engage, as these two want to fight all game long. Good win wall on the Scatter the Weak though. Heppo misses a Q and isn't able to continue over enough damage. but it's still not over. The bowling ball will whiff. Now Janikar has showed up here, and they have Heppo once again on the wrong side of the jungle. He can dash all he likes, but he'll fall to laneless as this game is all gas, no brakes.
Get out of the bathroom. You have to get out of the bathroom right now if things are actually happening. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I was not expecting this. Both of these teams, so much for those playoff nerves, not wanting to make a mistake. It is all gas, no brakes, like you said. Absolute pandemonium on Summoner's Rift already. Heppo needs to learn what the break, I think, is. 0-2 right now, but you got to respect the effort, especially playing alongside that Wukong. When you want to go, those two champions can definitely do so, but Laneless and Platypus are just doing such a fantastic job of kiting out that it's making it so difficult for Heppo to get on and do that Yasuo damage. And you saw when he was pressed up against that Lilia how much damage this Yasuo can do, but the spacing is just too difficult right now, and Heppo in a bit of a hole. On the other side of things, though, you got to look in the bot lane. That double kill in the bot lane, very, very good, and this Kai'Sa going to be scaling at a pretty early rate.
Yeah, and if you heard Gordo, Kai'Sa pretty broken. It's hard to really nerf her without nerfing her out of the meta or buffing her into the top state of it. So we'll have to track to see how Fuse can play in this one. It was interesting, those 2v2s, right? Because those 2v2s you were talking about, it was range versus melee, and it really just showed on display how much of a detriment that can be on the melee side. And sure, Yasuo certainly scales up. The 0-10 power spike might be a little more realistic than a meme at this point for Heppo, but Syndra can be a scary sight as well if she can get her splinters going early.
Yeah, you raise a good point. It's the intangibles of League of Legends where you can look at damage and champion abilities, and it just comes down to who has the more range early on in the game before items are a thing. And right now that is going to be Platypus and Janikar doing a fantastic job getting them an early lead, but it's been evened out. It is dead even right now. So for all of their scrapping and going at each other, it really ended up with not a lot changed. By the end, did get a push off with that Kai'Sa Thresh advantage, and it's going to be a dragon.
Look at this, 2 ultimates up, unstoppable force. Meow Mix wins the tank brawl. His ultimates come online, but he might pay the price here. Laneless does show up, and it's actually Nicknix to find it with that possessed form. So it actually somehow ends up being a trade 1-for-1.
Yeah, both of these teams going at it, blow for blow right now. Ali Foreman, it's a fantastic matchup to start this one off. The gold lead is in the favor of PIB, and that's what the Dragon actually not even going in their favor. Just gonna have to come down to the CSing. Right now, Laneless, Platypus, and Knickknacks doing a fantastic job of that. And in the bot lane, Suki Top and Janikar just withholding the tidal wave that is this Kai'Sa and staying in the game.
Ooh, good scout of the week. There's an absolute power out, but early game Syndra just doesn't really have the burst she needs yet. She's all about scaling, so kind of just to push off and get that HP advantage for Platypus.
Yeah, there is no teleport on Heppo, and so is going to have to back. Assuming Platypus is able to shove a wave here, they should miss a couple of minions, although Heppo didn't back at the worst possible time. If you look at the mid lane, the wave is crashing, I believe, right in front of the tower, and finally, Platypus is able to get it crashed in. So this Yasuo is going to lose probably about half a wave, and the gold lead going to continue to go up for PIB.
These top laners are still brawling it out. Meow Mix, though, feels like he has much more control over the wave. Currently takes a plus trade, and it's funny, right? Because usually there's one comp in a game where you feel like, oh, they really need an early lead. I honestly feel like either of these teams are content coming even out of the early game, and that's where their playstyles really start to flourish.
Yeah, if even is what you want, even is what you're going to get. Both of these teams are just going blow for blow across the board. You get a kill, I get one back. Anything you could do, I can do better. Or I guess even. In the top lane, it's just kind of a wet noodle fight. But you got to be careful about wet noodles, because before they were wet, they were hard, and they were spaghetti, and they stuck out of the pan. That can definitely happen if you leave them out long enough. And you have to imagine that if you let Knickknacks or Meow Mix get too much of an advantage in said wet noodle fight, it will be an absolute problem later on.
Ooh, look at this, though. The wraparound, they immediately force a flash. There's the arrow on to Stringy Bird. They're trying to burn him down under his own turret. Does land a good death sentence, but he's put asleep and slain by Laneless. The flank around pays off in dividends.
Yeah,
oh, wait.
That's a run.
Yeah, they're not even done. Suki top pops Ghost. That forces the flash out of Fused as well as Kai'Sa finally starting to get a bit neutralized thanks to Laneless.
Yeah, Laneless is having a fantastic game so far in the jungle, just playing so well at playing for the important lanes. No offense, Knickknacks, but you aren't really that important as the Scion. But even so, Laneless still ended up showing face. Wasn't necessary because of the Scion passive, but still Laneless has been in every single lane at this point and still learning, still kind of learning how to gank right now. Has only been mid, able to get a kill onto, I believe, Platypus, maybe? I don't even really remember. Or actually, it couldn't have been Platypus. It's Deathless.
It was laneless.
Exactly, onto Laneless. So I guess still learning has gotten a kill, but it really feels like it's been a bit of a jungle gap so far. And, credit goes over to Laneless. Actually, kind of the opposite of the name. Has been focused more on the lanes than the camps.
Still Learning did have a star-studded performance the one time we got to see IDN on the showcase match against UAA. I believe he was our MVP of that 2-0 sweep, so certainly a jungler that can pick it up and put it down in droves, but some good vision has kept Platypus safe. You can see he was playing so passively back as he will now get jumped on by Hepto, but another good dodge on the Nado. Just make sure that no burst combo can come out from this Yasuo.
Yeah, Heppo's having a difficult time going into this Syndra right now. The CS difference, about 30. Feels like Platypus is just always getting any chunk that they want up. Yeah, Heppo having to run into those doesn't feel good at all. And every time that this Yasuo wants to hop onto the Syndra or use a tornado, hasn't really been a possibility because Platypus has the moves like Jagger. So it has been impressive. As there goes the arrow, shooting star.
Okay, but here's the gank coming towards top side. They want to shut down Meow Meow Mix. Laneless has it wrapped. Meow Meow Mix does have flash and ultimate available, but they're not even giving him a window to ult, flash, or nothing. Killing spree for Laneless.
Feels like Meow Meow Mix might have been able to get out of that with, like you said, the flash and the ultimate, but just succumbs to their fate right now. Everybody dies. No use trying to give it up. And so Meow Meow Mix succumbs to their injuries, ends up falling. But with that demolish on the Scion, that's going to be 2 plates, you'd imagine, for Knickknacks. So that death doesn't feel good. I will say this Malphite does have teleport, so I think it's going to have to be capped at these 2 plates. Tick, 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 boom. A little bit of Oppenheimer in the top side as I cash in on my one pop culture reference of the minute. But it is going to mean with the teleport advantage that there's going to be a possible dragon take.
Ooh, here's the teleport from Knickknacks. They're burning it down. Immediately pops the Scion ult. They're going to pop the dragon and take it. So IDN secures the Drake. But what do they have to pay for? Flash huge. Oh my god! It's the 5-man knockup. IDN blow up the fight in a matter of seconds. A triple kill for Confused. What the hell just happened?
Oh my goodness! Dang, that is what you want to see. IDN on the map, the 6th seed. Showing out. Laneless might be in trouble here. Is this going to be the delayed ace?
The lane turn in, Still Learning, and he gets the shutdown as well. We thought IDN was cornered, but we forgot about the Wombo, baby. Oh, come on. Don't die to camp. Don't.
Okay. I don't even care.
Okay.
I don't even care. 5-man Yasuo knockup. I mean, it was a snipe. It was impressive. I care a little bit.
Three-fourths the map. Three-fourths the map. I mean,
look, man, that was unbelievable. That's like hitting a normal 3-pointer after somebody just dunked from half court. 5-man Yasuo knockup. And what you like to see is sometimes the Yasuo ultimate leaves the Yasuo in a pretty precarious situation. You know, the rest of the team is too far removed, but they immediately all hop in and blow up everybody else. I guess Meow Meow Mix was just saving the ultimate for that dragon fight because holy moly, Still Learning and Heppo combined with Meow Meow Mix, and then Confused just gets the easiest ultimate of their life on this Kaisa, able to hop in and free hit. That was an unbelievable team fight.
I hate that happened at 13 minutes because you're not gonna get a better wombo than that. That is
maybe
quite
ever.
Literally, no, ever. That's quite literally the perfect. That's exactly how they wanted to go out. Like every phase of it. It could have been Malphite first, but either Wukong or Malphite get the 5-man knockup into the last breath, and then you bring the other knockup right through after they all get thrown down by last breath. All the while, because of Killer Instinct, Confused can dive right in the middle of it. The only person who couldn't dive forward was Stringy Bird, unless he hit a hook, which he did. It's just insane.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. And like you said, I don't think it's, man, we're not going to get a better one this game. I think in all of my time playing League of Legends and casting it, that is the greatest ult combo I've ever seen. That was unbelievable.
That's what you dream of. And the worst part, though, Bonfire,
Beat the cast the rest of the game, Slayer.
no. PIB still have the gold lead after that.
Oh my goodness, you're right. I haven't even looked at that. Oh jeez. Yeah. Well, okay, it is a slight gold lead, but they're going to get their tower knocked down, so that slight gold lead is going to, or that slight gold deficit is going to grow. And that's, I mean, look, if there was ever a better showing that macro is more important than micro, I think this is it. Because you play the greatest team fight I've ever seen, and you get the dragon as well, and you're still down gold because of the CSing and the ability to move across the map, and Heppo might be caught out. Platypus has to be careful, though. Stringy Bird is here.
NATO gave enough zoning for Heppo to be able to knock down the turret, and we'll take that lantern out. Still learning. We'll cycle over towards this Rift Herald, and let's bring Heppo right over. So some macro coming out from IDN after they just showed off the best micro we'll ever see in the Divine League history, and they'll be able to pick themselves up at Rift Herald. And despite the fact that they are down gold, Bonfire, I still favor them because the 2 Drake stacks they have would likely in gold boost them over how far the little bit they are behind.
Yeah, and you want to talk about intangibles as well. How do you think PIB is going to play these team fights later on? They were just shown their depth. I mean, they just got one punch man punch right there. There's not a lot that they can do about that. But mentally wise, when you like get destroyed in a team fight, you're not so keen to go for a future team fight the same way that you did before. And so we'll have to see. Obviously, I think good teams are able to just brush it off and say we got the next one. But sometimes if you don't have the strongest mental, you can get frustrated, you can get annoyed, you can be paranoid, and start being concerned about that happening again, which realistically will never happen again. And so it'll be interesting to see if PIB are able to play the team fights like they're supposed to, or if they just psych themselves out because, I mean, realistically, they just got absolutely dunked on.
Well, another fight has to happen, and here it comes. The answer from PIB. There's the Unstoppable Onslaught coming through. They have the TP from Platypus as well, and he blows up Stringy Bird, and now they have Still Learning caught. Tunks and Arrow has to flash away. The bowling ball will land, but he's able to avoid the assault as PIB. They do find a way to answer back with their own little team fight.
Yeah, they were able to get a kill. It's unfortunate that Still Learning was able to get out right there, but they were able to get a kill and almost knock down this entire turret. Now, that being said, it was a 5v3 right there, so it didn't really feel like a team fight as much of a let's chase them down, but it is still important that they're able to, gain their confidence like that. It does show that, again, they are not down gold. They're still in a good position, and assuming that they're able to knock this down, which Suki Top does quite a lot of damage, they should get it at least soon, if not now. It's still a pretty big win right there.
I do want to give some roses back to IDN with this draft because it's already a call and a half to go for the Wombo Combo Yasuo, but I love the answer because it was really the answer to Melio. Because the only thing Melio Breath of Light can't deal with is those knockups, and you saw that in that beautiful team fight. So give them some roses to their draft crew and their coaching staff. They'll trade that first Mountain Drake for a Rift Herald crash onto this top turret, and with Still Learning coming up, Meow Meow Mix and company will be able to knock that one down. But that's a pivotal Drake to get if you are Primal Instinct Black.
Yeah, it feels like a good play for both teams. I think that if you're PIB, you want to slow the dragon stacking, and if you're IDN, you do need to get some gold back in your pocket, right? You're not in the most comfortable of positions with the gold difference, and they evened it up right there. So I think both teams are pretty happy about that. Platypus might try to go in right here with Nameless behind them, although Confused and Stringy Bird are here. Stringy Bird does take some damage, and yeah, you really can't underestimate this damage that Laneless and Platypus do. I'd like to see Meow Meow Mix build that MR like you talked about. Obviously, Ashe is going to do a lot of AD, so it has to be mixed. You can't just slam MR, but as a whole, I think that a lot of the damage is going to be in the MR department. And
there's the cleanse. The arrow lands, is able to flash away, though, before any further damage come off. Double teleport comes out. Both top laners show up as some ultimates have already been expended on both sides. But that was almost disastrous for IDN. You can't let Ken Fuse get caught out.
Ken Fused is quite a lot of their damage. This Yasuo obviously does have the ultimate, can be paired well like we saw, but in terms of consistent damage, there's a reason that this Kai'Sa is 4-0, and that's because they just do the most consistent damage. As long as they don't get touched, like Gordo said, one of the most broken champions in the game right now.
Ooh, there's the knockup. Here comes the
Uh-oh.
unstoppable onslaught out from Nick, but does cancel it out. Good death sentence for Seabird. And look at the wombo, it comes out again. Knock up into last breath, and they find the kills onto Suki top. Lameless has to flash away, running away from the fight. Good Zarnius from Platypus to keep himself up and keep himself alive, but maybe at the detriment of his top laner. There's another good scatter of the week, and in the background, Ken Fuse was actually traded out. In the end of the day, a wombo gives the kill advantage to IDN.
Ends up being a 2-for-1. The Wombo, even if it's not all 5, Heppo is just edging that R button. It's just sitting on top of it. And I mean, honestly, that was picture perfect, frame perfect. Getting that ultimate off immediately, and the damage follows as well. This is a 1, 2, and 6 Yasuo as well. Honestly, there are concerns that when this Yasuo starts to scale up, it's just able to destroy these squishier members. And you look at the composition that PIB has to offer, really the only, honestly, slightly tanky member at all is this Scion. And so if Heppo is able to get on really anybody but the Scion with the last breath, with the last breath, I think that honestly last breath might stand for theirs, last breath, not his.
Good job dodging there, Confused. But here's the flank for Platypus. Does land the scatter of the week, but the lantern out keeps him safe for a moment. The Laneless shows up. Hello, see you later, Confused. And we'll take Stringy Bird as well. Huge pick, as Baron might be on the cards for PIB.
I'm not sure how IDN is able to contest this Baron. They want to, but they just don't have enough consistent damage. The Wombo is definitely there. Ultimates on Meow Meow Mix and Heppo, but it's going down so low already, and doesn't even look like they're going to be able to try to contest it.
We talked about how Ken fuses all of their damage in a lot of ways right now, especially from any sort of range. And without him, IDN can't do much but just shove the mid wave. And now it might lead to Meow Meow Mix getting caught. The Scatter of the Week lands. Here's the unstoppable onslaught from Nick to try and cut off this Malphite. He is cornered on all sides, trying to get to the Blasco, but he hits it too early and is slammed down by Platypus with Unleashed out.
It's really interesting how Meow Meow Mix uses their ultimate, because really only uses it offensively. A lot of times you'll see the Unstoppable Force used as a defensive ultimate, you know, to get out of precarious situations, but obviously
here's the Wombo again, and once again it's Suki top that pays the price. Another bout of the Cyclone meets Platypus will finally be shut down. That's one hell of a gold injection in the carries of IDN.
Still learning, heard my comments about it being a jungle gap and took it personally. Unbelievable plays from Still Learning right now. 2, 1, and 8, even though wasn't able to affect the lanes as much as I believe Laneless was early on. He's doing more than enough right now. Get invisible, hop on top of them, knock it up. Bish bash, let Heppo do the rest. Unbelievable work from the Wukong right there. And this game can be cut with a knife. A 300 gold difference separates these two teams. And is there really any better matchup right now in the Divine League? 3-6 matchup right now. Obviously, the 3 seed is PIB, the 6 seed IDN. But both of these teams are playing like 1 seeds.
It's amazing to watch, and it's so fun because both these teams want to do the same thing. It's either we're going to get a big team fight as 5, or we're going to try and set up picks. And in the last 5 minutes, each team has had a successful pick onto a big-time member of the opposing squad. But it's all going to come down right here, Bonfire. Another Mountain Drake on the card. Soul Point potentially for IDN. And both these teams are rearing up for a big fight with basically every ultimate available.
Yeah, Still Learning doesn't have the ultimate on the Wukong. That has been their go button quite a lot. They've been using Meow Meow Mix as a follow-up ultimate to keep them locked in.
It's online now.
Keep an eye on that now, as the Dragon's just being taken.
Under 5K now. IDN at the top of the jungle. No flank set up here. They're looking for a window. There's the unstoppable onslaught. Does land onto this. Wukong Still Learning. Has to utilize the clone to get out. Picks up the Drake though. Jumps right back in. Meow Meow Mix on the front line getting burned down. Good death sentence onto the Scion. But they're chunking down and they've killed off Laneless in the background. Heppo will be traded out by Suki top. But now he's surrounded by members of IDN and blown off. Platypus has to come up huge here. But he's so low and taken out by Still Learning. All of PIB have to run for the wayside. It's only the tank and support left. There's no damage left, and there's no one left to stop the rampage of Iridescent Dawn Neon.
Iridescent Dawn Neon. proving the doubters wrong in this first game, the seal the dragon and the fight to go along with it. Play that one out perfectly, and you love to see how they were able to play on two fronts. Confused was able to stand behind Meow Meow Mix and have Stringy Bird beside them that entire time, and then the mid jungle duo of Still Learning and Heppo, the best of friends in and out of the rift, doing a fantastic job. 4-1-10 on this Wukong, 3-3-8, just sticking together and able to get onto the jungler of Laneless, ensuring that it wasn't a fair fight. Confuse just goes without being touched that entire time, and you can't do that to the Kaisa. IDN, for all of their incredible team fights, have finally gotten themselves a substantial gold lead.
It's such a hard thing to do, right, if you're PIB, because you have to worry about the Wombo and every member of it, but you take your eyes off this fed Kaisa, but Heppo wants to play against two, gets the tornado knockup, last breath does land, flash out from Suki top, does land, arrow immediately cleansed by Confuse, so a lot of summoners traded is, sleepy time for Heppo, but nobody's close enough to really capitalize on it, and no one ends up dying for another pick play from either side.
Ends up being less of a sleep, more of a nap right there. Murktred's going to ensure that that sleep does not last very long, but here's a beautiful fight.
Still learning. Finds Platypus. He doesn't need last breath. He has so much damage on his own. Forces out the golden form, but it's a killing spree for Confuse. Suki top trying to kite back. Does find the kill on the Still Learning. Here's Sion with a unstoppable onslaught. Doesn't go under the turret. Goes just wide and can't find anybody with that knockup. There's a death sentence. Landed on the Laneless and nearly falls. There's the spell final. They're going back forward. Confuse is trying to pick everybody off. Gets the shutdowns and will find another on the Knickknicks as IDN come right back with another big brawl.
IDN feels like they can't lose a team fight at this point, even when it looked dicey, even when it looked like it could be over, and PIB had finally won something in their favor. They find the counter engage, and man, you gotta show out for Confuse right now, having the game of their life on this Kaisa. 9-2-5. Meow Meow Mix and Confused make it happen right there at the end, and they swing the team fight back in their favor.
This is why Kaisa is perma-ban or perma-B1 at this point in the state of League of Legends. Just so viable, like Gordo talked about on the analyst desk. She can do so many things. She can peel for herself with that invisibility. She can jump forward like an assassin with Killer Instinct. She has the AP ratios on a Cathy and Rain and the 80 to back from the rest of her kit. Just such a problem, and Confuse has utilized this Kaisa to a great amount to put IDN in this spot.
Yeah, honestly, the entirety of IDN has played incredibly well as a whole, not just Confused. Obviously, Confused has most of the kills and has done a fantastic job of being the damage while not getting picked off, but we've talked extensively about the last breath. We've talked about Still Learning, finding all of the most beautiful engages. Meow Meow Mix also doing a fantastic job on this Malphite, and Stringy Bird, just the glue that holds this paper mache project together. And it is standing strong right now. No rain in store as they are turning their eyes onto Baron.
Yep, they want their shot at Baron, and would be a risky play here. 50-50 potential with Laneless. Does have flash up. He wants to go into the pit. They're still focusing it. Where will the turn come out? That sentence lands on the Knickknicks. The Sion trying to zone it. Here's the turn. Still Learning gets two knockups, but last breath isn't close enough. Heppo wasn't there to follow up. There is a second bout as Cyclone as they're trying to focus this Sion, but look at Lilia jump forward. Laneless gets a huge sleep. Here comes PIB. They finally find the fight they needed. Shutdowns across the board, and Primal Instinct Black have a shot at Baron themselves.
Yeah, that's not a nap. That is a long sleep right there.
Oh, huge unstoppable force though. Confuse goes forward, Killer Instinct, but Suki top just blows him up. He can't find the kills. Malphite is only denied the inevitable. They'll find a couple key kills, but it's an ace for Primal Instinct Black.
Primal Instinct Black, they played that one twice. The first time was so nice. Had to do it twice right there. The delayed ace, I believe it was actually an ace as a whole. And Suki top and Janikar are gonna grab the Baron. This game, like a pendulum, continues to swing back and forth. Neither team can make it swing in their favor. Tick-tock, who will be the one at the very end of it all with the pendulum in their favor? Both teams playing with their hearts out. And Slayer, this is game one. This is the first of potentially three.
And the action doesn't stop, Bonfire. There's a couple points I want to make, and I just want to quickly say good luck to Gordo and GoForino picking replays. But the Drake for Soul Point is up here for IDN, and Layless, oh no! He's picked off at the worst time possible. Mountain Soul may just be a free pass here for IDN with Layless out.
Laneless, a bit of a lapse of judgment right there. No teammates alongside them.
Yeah, it's
kind
Mountain
of
Soul.
running willy-nilly into the river. If you stop, I mean, and they also were aware that they were spotted on vision by that control ward. Walked over it and still decided to run forward. Big question mark right there. Didn't have flash up either. Not really sure what to say about that, especially when Laneless has played such an impeccable game so far. It really hurts to see that one mistake could cost them the first game.
And Mountain Soul is massive because now you neutralize so much of the burst ability that Platypus can really bring. And that's the main damage threat, at least on the AP side right now. So how do these Unleashed Powers, how do these Scatter the Weaks look now that there's that Mountain Soul in the cards for IDN?
The only saving grace is that they do have Suki Top and Janikar, and so they should be able to hopefully poke out a lot of those shields with the Ashe and the Melio. But like you said, right, that poke, you probably wanted it on their health bars instead of the shields. And yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. Just kind of a lapse in judgment for Laneless right there, and cost them the soul, potentially the game if this continues to go forward. Although, if these team fights continue the way that they have, all it takes is one big ultimate from a key member that can really change any fight.
This is the banger game of, honestly, the season, and it's the first game of the playoffs. What a show we have in store for you guys there at home watching along with the Divine League. And I want to quickly point something out, Bonfire, because this is another just a niche micro move that I think is a huge play. Ken Fuse, there's a lot of build paths you can go with Kaisen or hybrid ability, but I love the Luden's Mythic here because there's a bunch of AD damage across the board for IDN. There's some more of the AP damage, though, from Meow Meow Mix. Platypus is completely caught out. It's the auto attack fight, gets the Scatter the Weak off, but now has to run the wrong way. Meow Meow Mix doesn't have that gap closer anymore. It feels like it's only a matter of time between that bowling ball rock comes out and Platypus falls. Ooh, not dead just yet, still getting some good damage out. There it finally is. Meow Meow Mix with the solo bolo.
Yeah, you talk about good damage out right there. Have to disagree with him, and that comes down to that MR. Obviously, was able to chunk out a little bit, but man, this Malphite is nigh unkillable right now. So difficult to take down this Malphite, and that's going to be a potentially huge problem for PIB because of the damage being pushed out behind. He talks about Confused at 9, 3, and 8. Has the bodyguard to end all bodyguards in front of them in every single fight. 4 top right now, actually all 5 top right now, as Meow Meow Mix feels so tanky, feels that they can just tank an entire tower. Although I am seeing now that actually wants to tank the tower, and there's still a minion there.
That's an interesting call nonetheless, but it's interesting, right, Bonfire, because Primal Instinct Black, they took Baron. They got the big Baron team fight, but it's actually Iridescent Dawn Neon that picks up more turrets on their Baron power play as they continue to just push the gas down to the metal of that car.
Yeah, both of these teams really strong for team fighting, but it feels like when IDN Group S5, they are so difficult to fight against. Still Learning has been an absolute maestro at getting the engages, getting the knockups for the last breath of Heppo. Meow Meow Mix always in the cards, and then Confused and Stringy Bird. It just feels impossible for Primal Instinct Black to get into these 5v5s. And yeah, it shows with the way that they're going against them with the Baron play, like you talked about. Even though they had the Baron, as soon as IDN grouped as 5, they turned tail.
And speaking of those fights that have been all about this game number 1, interesting itemizations to look out for against Primal Instinct Black here. You got a stopwatch on Still Learning, a stopwatch on Ken Fuse to avoid a potential wombo. GA was 3rd item bought here from Heppo so that he can come back online. Is that enough to turn the tides of a fight to create a bit of a window and break up the wombo PIB can throw at?
It does feel like they're itemizing very defensively, like you talked about. I don't think damage is the problem for them, and they recognize that. They recognize that they don't need to just slam down the damage because they have so much of it already, and so they're more concerned about these long extended fights.
Ken Fuse sitting right on the front line with that Banshee's Veil now completed. Another defensive itemization coming across to try and keep this Kai'Sa safe. As Rene ramming, there's the arrow whiffs. Unstoppable Onslaught going to go wide as well as Primal Instinct Black are at desperation time to try and get these picks, but maybe they have one now onto Stringy Bird, has to flash away. Good death sentence to land to stall out. Heppo on the flank trying to set something up, but Laneless finds the first kill. They're trying to turn on a Platypus. They're trying to find Laneless, and they've blown up Janikar. Finally, Ken Fuse goes online. They find the broken fight. Platypus knocked up by the Cyclone, has to go golden, but has to be soon to fall, and will. It's all on Suki Top, who's trying to kite out this Malphite, but is slowly being burned down. The kite prowess on all tiers right now, but all of his teammates have fallen. The rest of IDN is forward now on the fight. Nick Nix may be tanky, but he's not enough for Ken Fuse. 4 kills for IDN.
Suki Top is a problem, but it just doesn't matter. The rest of IDN are too strong for the Ashe to kite out, and they get themselves another team fight win. How many, Slayer? How much can PIB take at this point? Feels like they haven't won one in so long since that Baron fight. Honestly, if you calculated the amount of team fight wins, the multi kills that went in favor of IDN, has to be such a substantial number in their favor. They've won so much, but there's still breath for PIB. It's not over for them. They're gonna take Baron right here, but 10 seconds on Elder.
Exactly, Bonfire, and that's immediately the move from PIB. Baron will be picked up,
backing.
but look at the teleports. Platypus is here. The Elder flip could be massive. The only way you give up Baron is for a soul point secure or Elder. And there's the teleport from IDN. They didn't get the full reset. Meow Meow Mix is behind everybody. The Elder down below 10K. PIB are worried about that Wombo. They come off of it, and now they're just going to go for the pick play. They have Meow Meow Mix countered. Can they burn him down before IDN shows up? They have the damage. They're burning him down. Utilize the Unstoppable Force to get out, and is actually able to stay safe. Now IDN have the upper foot. They have this fight split. There's the arrow into the Unstoppable Onslaught. Burn Stringy Bird down. Meow Meow Mix already low. There's the Wombo, though. They've caught Suki Ball and Platypus again. The shutdowns come across, and for the 15th time, when you think IDN are down and out, they come back with the uppercut of dreams.
PIB might be on their final breath right now. I don't think they can take much more, Slayer, as everybody on the blue side turns towards the enemy Nexus. IDN want to shut everybody up right now with an absolute statement in this game one, continuing to show that they are one of the best team fighting teams here in the Divine League. 34 kills! The snipe from Ken Fused as well. He is Ken, and that's enough.
We have to play more than one game. Like, I can't believe we have another game.
Blessed. We're so blessed.
This has been the absolute treat, folks. And IDN are going to take a game one over PIB, but we've got a whole lot of game left.
Yeah, a whole lot of series, not much game, as that is going to be the end of the first game. An unbelievable first game at that. Wow, IDN showing up to play and throwing an uppercut to PIB's playoff hopes. Primal Instinct Black, the 2nd seed from Group A, falls to Group B's 3rd seed, and Iridescent Dawn Neon is trying to be the little brother, be big brother, as the better Iridescent Dawn this series.
Whew, what a game, but I think you've heard enough from the Bonfire for a bit. We need a breather, and I really want to hear the reaction from Gordo and Goferino after that banger game one. So without further ado, let's throw it back on over to the analyst desk.
Holy crap, Goferino. What a long game coming out there. A banger back and forth with some huge team fights coming in from both teams. And I cannot believe that my prediction is wrong, man. It's 2-0 Dreams are crushed there. Iridescent Dawn Neon with a fantastic execution of the Wombo combo team comp.
Yeah, and you can see in the goal graph here just how back and forth it was until the very end there. That's when things started pulling really far ahead here. But by that, it's like, you know, you're 30 minutes into the game. That's when you're already destroying the Nexus and getting money from that. And the damage graphs also kind of tell the story here. Like, there was so much damage thrown out in this game. It was back and forth. Funnily enough, the Yasuo, you know, doing 3rd least damage in game. Not something you typically see, but also, you weren't raining down those prey seekers constantly. So I can forgive you for that one.
Yeah, he's really kind of just there as the fourth knockup, right? I mean, you get the one from Unstoppable Force, you get the two from Cyclone, and then Last Breath can kind of carry you through for one more, just to keep him held down for this Kaisa to pump out the damage. And I got quoted a lot of times in that game, Gopherino, but I still stand by it that Champion is broken.
Yeah, let's take a look at replay one.
Oh,
This
this is
should be the second dragon fight.
oh yeah,
Yeah, this
everybody
was
get
like the
get the
wombo.
cameras, get the clip, and bookmark it. This is what you
Yeah.
came here to see.
Yeah,
The huge
5-man.
five-man knockout.
Yep. What else
Oh,
is
it's
there to really say?
gorgeous.
Like, you kind of know how this one ends, but we had to clip it. It's the Wombo Combo Team Comp stream. 5-0. You also get Dragon here. Eventually 5-0.
And they were
Eventually 5-0.
behind before this fight, Gopherino. They were a little behind after this fight.
Yeah, because Piv, I mean, they had a pretty solid early game. Even though it was pretty even in kills, they're keeping a little ahead. They had some plates up on the competition. Other than that, though, yeah, that was a really huge fight, to say the least. It is a 5-0, 11 and a half minutes in. Nothing
Yeah,
much else to say about
I kind of share the sentiment that Bonfire and Slayer had on the stream, right? Like, where do we go from here, man? That's the best fight we're gonna
Yeah.
get for the whole playoffs. That was gorgeous. And the game still went on with so many close neck and neck team fights from there on out.
Yeah, because as the game went on, we got a second replay here. Piv, they got more wiser towards the Wombo combo, and you saw Iridescent Dawn. They had to, work a little harder to get their Wombo combos. You can see in this fight, they're spreading out. The Wombo combo doesn't happen, but the Dragon is stolen, and it's just a good mismatch here. You get the Syndra isolated here. You're able to take them out of the fight. Suki top, they're doing as much damage as they can, but you got a Wukong ulting on you. You're not going to have fun, and the entire time you just have this Kaisa from Confused nuking everyone here. Still has that killer instinct to go on in, finish off some kills here. Like, Confused really, really got fed. And you can see the results.
You definitely can. And that Dragon Steel ends up making all the difference in the long run, too, because that gets them the soul at the moment that they get it, right? They was Primal Instinct Black in the midst of a comeback there. Laneless gets picked, and that ends up giving over the Soul Drake. If they had gotten a smite on that Drake in that fight that we just watched, then that's not soul, and that gives them a much better opportunity to potentially take these fights later on. So everything just dominoes, snowballing on top of each other, and it ends up just barely coming out ahead for Iridescent on Neon as they win fight after fight after fight, leading up to our third replay that we're going to have ready here in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah. Oh, alrighty. I didn't hear the R from Caddy, so I'm like, okay, yeah.
I just know these kind of things.
Okay, this was not the 34-minute one. This is the 32-minute one. This is a very prolonged fight here. Because you see Pip, like, all right, we're on the back foot. We had to give up the soul here. Let's try and get some picks here. And it's working out well for them in the beginning. This is a 5 versus 4, but they're not able to finish off Confused here, and they're just way too overextended. And then it just all comes crashing down. You got Meow Meow Mix on top of you, and everyone else is just nuking you. Suki top definitely doing as much as they can here, but it's a Mountain Soul Malphite in your Ash League of Legends, so yeah.
Masterclass kiting here from Suki top, but Mountain Soul's a hell of a drug. Keeps him up for a very, very long time and lets Meow Meow Mix in particular just absorb those shots all day long. Lord Dominic's regards cannot save you there. It just there's not any options left for him at that point.
Yep. No, we might have another replay here for that 34-minute.
Replay number 4? Is it possible? All right, so there's not enough time. There's not enough time for a 4th replay. We would like to believe that it's possible, but it's not going to be possible here. So we're going to throw it to a quick break while we get into draft for game number 2. Don't want to hold these guys in their cages for too long. They want to get out onto the Rift once again. So we are going to take that break. We're going to be back before too long for draft number 2.
Nice to see everybody again back here with the first round of playoffs for the Divine League Summer 2023 split. And we are getting right into Game 2 draft. It's hard to believe that there will be another game after what we saw in Game number 1, Bonfire. But we're looking for Primal Instinct Black to have some sort of answer after their loss.
Yeah, Iridescent Dawn Neon is looking more dangerous right now than the demon currently in your room. It's insane.
There is no demon
You did
in
turn
my
you did
room.
you did turn on a light to make
I'm
sure
scared
that
of the
everyone
dark.
felt safe. I'm also afraid of the dark. Why do you think I have so many lights on? Um yeah, no, there's no demon. There's no Yasuo all ready to hit him. He's fine. Wukong's definitely not cloned right next to him right now. Uh no, that was an insane first game. And how do you one up that? I really don't know. That's like I don't know. That's like the actually I don't even want to say it because I'll feel bad for you, but that's like the Kawhi shot in the semifinals, where it's just it's just like the finals didn't live up to that. If you don't know, Slayer's a 76ers fan. I feel bad saying it, but like, come on, that's like one of the greatest moments in NBA history.
So I was so happy. Casted such a great game.
Hey, you could just say
Feeling
it was like the
great.
double doink for the Bears, all right? Like, how do you one up that?
I guess that's fair. I won't make that joke. But, you know, there should be a lot of intriguing answers as we haven't started the draft just yet, but it is down below for everybody to see here. We do have Iridescent Dawn Neon on blue side again. So right off the bat, if you're Primal Instinct Black, there's got to be a Kaisa ban. I mean,
You'd imagine so. I don't see a world where you don't ban the Kaisa. The Malphite was annoying, but there's other tank top laners that you're going to have to go against no matter what. Yasuo was very strong, but again, I really don't feel like the Yasuo does that much if there isn't the Kaisa and if there isn't the Wukong. Those would be two bans that I would throw out personally, because it did feel like the Wukong, even without the last breath, was still such a problem when paired along with the rest of the engage. So me personally, I would ban the Wukong and the Kaisa, but that does also leave quite a lot of other champions up that they had previously banned. So it's kind of like Sisyphus's banning, where it's like as soon as you get up what you think is the best ban phase, you're just gonna fall back down because of how many meta champs there are.
yeah, that is a fair response. I will say for Primal Instinct Black, I don't think they're going to get caught by the Wombo again. That was kind of a perfect scenario because I've got to applaud Iridescent Dawn Neon for it. You saw the Melio get picked early and you're like, all right, Melio's literally here to cleanse a majority of CC we can throw at this team. What's the one CC that he can't though? Knockups, and that's exactly what happened as we do get that Kaisa ban. They played with us. They're like, we're gonna wait till the third ban, but no Kaisa here for Ken Fused.
Yeah, I think that's smart the way that they ordered it as well, because there actually is a fairly strong chance that IDN doesn't ban the Kaisa and pick something that goes really strong into the Kaisa and gives it up. And so they're just waiting to see if IDN does the dirty work for them. Iridescent Dawn Neon obviously not going to ban the Kaisa, and instead has to pick something else as we blink into a potential Varus. And it is
Wow.
Varus.
Intriguing. There's not as many viable AD carries, I feel like, on the current patch.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's mostly because there are, but they just aren't like Kaisa level. So it feels weird talking about them. Varus has been around for, it's coming up on a year now. He feels like he's been able to be playable at high levels. I will point out IDN did go with the exact same bans again to target Primal Instinct Black, but the Varus opens up a lot of interesting matchups. But for Primal Instinct Black, they're going right back towards the similar R1 themselves, and we're gonna have a utility battle between these two AD carries.
I love the Ashe. I don't think Suki was the problem on the Ashe. Actually, if you look at the damage charts, was definitely not the problem. Second most damage in the game. Never going to be mad at that. And it did feel like the kiting was really strong on this Ashe. I think the biggest question is, with the Melio possibly not in the mix, it depends on where they want to go with it. Is the Ashe still as viable? Because I think the reason the Ashe was so strong was because they just kept running into it. That being said, Ashe is still very much viable in all regards. And so they're going to pick it up, but it does mean that they have to concede Vi Ahri, which, for as long as I can remember, has been one of the strongest mid-jungle duos there is out there, and is kind of a nightmare to go into as an opposing mid laner.
It's a nightmare to go into as the opposing mid laner, and if you are this not mobile Ashe for Suki top, right? So the answer, I do like the answer. I'm still a big fan of Syndra. I'm a big proponent of Syndra. I think Platypus just was sort of not talked about as much because the Wombos started flying, but he was actually progressing way ahead of schedule on those splinters on Syndra and would have been a massive force if those team fights weren't so bombastic. So I like that pick for Platypus. But you mentioned it, Ari and Vi go together like strawberries and hot chocolate. Melted chocolate.
Strawberries and
You know what I
hot
mean?
chocolate. I mean, yeah, that's a good combo right there. Making me hungry right now. Although my dinner was really good, so I'm not that hungry. I made myself a very good dinner. Just kind of proud of myself in that regard. So everyone type Bonfire's a good chef. This chef in chat. There is gonna be the Milio ban, which again, that's a beautiful ban right there because the RA charm, the Vi, I guess it's a knockup technically, but mostly the RA charm is suddenly so much more prevalent. And also the range that I talked about earlier that the Ash had gained with the Milio, no longer there. I will say the Lulu is still up. I don't think it is nearly as strong as the Milio, but still gives attack speed and it gives obviously a lot of tank ability. Maybe keep this Ash alive a little bit longer with the wild growth. Yeah, wild growth
There you go.
ultimate. I got there eventually. So I don't hate the Lulu. I think the Lulu is not a bad pick. The issue is that Varus likes to go with a lot of engaged supports and Lulu struggles. Janna is a similar tree but a different family.
I like the Janna. I think it could be a real good answer to this Vi. Janna is all about just, it's not the hardest to play Janna, but I feel like the one part where you can really do some serious damage is with that Typhoon. The ultimate, just push away and disrupt the mojo of an opposing team in a team fight. So I'm not a big hater of the Janna. Lux locked, or at least being hovered here for IDN.
Lux.
That would be a lock-in. That is a very, very bold bottom lane. Lux Varus is all about range and pressure on turret plating, so that's going to be very interesting. I don't think it's going to be a Lux mid because Ari Flex would be weird. I do want to quickly point out before we get to this final pick, Primal Instinct Black, shout out Gordo, the Encyclopedia of Amateur League of Legends. They do like to flex Maokai top if they like the matchup. So this final R5 pick could be really intriguing with that little added wrinkle.
Yeah, I think you need to go tank here, IDN, and indeed they do with the Mundo. I mean, this is just I guess a Vi is not super weak, but Lux Ari Varus is like blowing bubbles. They pop immediately. So you need the Mundo, you need the Vi for at least a little bit of tankiness. And I think the Mundo is strong in this regard. A lot of the CC can dodge out. This is way out of left field. And the Aatrox, you'd imagine this is it's a comfort pick. You'd imagine so because not really meta. I don't think it's very strong into the Mundo either, but can be very strong. I'm just concerned about getting outranged and outspaced by an Ari and a Lux Varus, but I mean, you're always going to get so much damage onto a Mundo Vi in every fight.
It'll be really intriguing. Aatrox, there weren't very many champion changes on patch 13-14. It was mostly about the new game mode and the new, fighter. It's something fighter. Soul Fighter update. But they did have a couple champion tweaks along with Kaisa. We talked about that one. Aatrox is the biggest beneficiary of this patch. He did get buffed, so I don't hate that matchup. Meow Mix going on over to the Mundo. That is a staple pick, and we have a completely different feel game to what we saw from game number 1.
Yeah, especially from IDN. This is just a complete change of their strategy and the way that they're going to play this one out. It'll be interesting to see that when they pull the trigger, when they don't. They've got really good pick potential. I mean, look, man, if you're going into a Varus Vi Ari Lux, good luck moving. You get rooted by one thing, it's cooked, it's over. So that's gonna be their bread and butter. If you're able to get onto the Ash or the Syndra or the Janna, I think you're really happy about that. I think the biggest concern is if Aatrox is in your back line, it's over. Just in the sense of you're screwed, especially with how little movability you have on a Varus and a Lux. So I think that's their weakness, but a lot of strength in their pick potential.
Well, both these teams have cooked up their main dishes, and now it's all time just to dress it up for the go out to the restaurant. And while they dress it up and get through Champion Select, we'll throw it back to Gordo and Golfarino to break down how they feel about this draft. Stick with us.
Thank you very much, Slayer and Bonfire, as we are back on the analyst desk with the in-client draft taking place down below, as we get to see a little bit of a run back from Primal Instinct. They're still going for this kind of kite back, disengage style of composition, throwing in the freshly buffed Aatrox in there for Nicknicks, whereas as the casters were calling out, a really different look from Iridescent on Neon as they are looking to snowball this into a Game 2 and a series victory.
Yeah, I mean, Iridescent, Dawn, Neon. Our first 3 picks, these are all very pick-heavy champions, and then they also get the Lux. Like, I kind of wrote in chat, like, oh, they have the get that dude's ass sort of composition. Like, they're gonna pick someone out, and that person might just as well die instantly. There aren't too many people here on the side of Pib that really want to be tanking that full-on onslaught from any of these combos, really. But we'll see, because once again, like you said, back to base. Well, kind of run back compositional style wise, not necessarily champion picks wise.
Yeah.
We're gonna kite this one on out.
Yeah, Slayer quoted me a bit during the draft itself. I watched Primal Instinct play nearly this exact same comp yesterday, except they flipped the Maokai to top lane and played Bel'Veth jungle. Obviously, the Bel'Veth banned away this time,
Yeah.
but I was thinking if they ended up seeing a good matchup for the Maokai top, they might have ended up flexing that one and taking another carry pick for laneless. They don't see it. Instead, they go for this Aatrox pick. I can see it being good into the Mundo, and I hear it's a little broken. They're already talking about nerfing it next patch when they just buffed it. So, maybe a little indecisive there on exactly how strong they want the Aatrox to be. But he does have that boosted up ratio now up against champions, so he does have that little extra oomph of damage. And you can see what the game plan is coming into the Mundo matchup, because it's just so easy to hit him with a little tiny bit of hard CC, and that's going to proc goes where he pleases. He's going to lose a big chunk of HP, and if you could beat him in the race to the canister, he's going to stay missing that HP.
Yeah, or just keep wailing away on him, because, when that passive's down, that sets you up for your own Darkened Blade knockups, which are very easy to land against a meatball like Mundo, who's definitely going to be keeping it close to you, and you kind of like it when they keep it close to you, because that's usually in the range for your knockups, as long as you answer. Should be very heavy trading top lane, I would assume, just due to the nature that it is melee versus melee. Both of them do want to really just...
For sure. And on top of that, we have Janakar on the namesake Janna. The Ashe Janna duo is one I've seen these guys play before, and it's one that they're pretty adept at. I think they're both very good at these specific champions, and I think the kite back strategy here between the four, everybody but Aatrox, frankly, the Maokai plus the Scat of the Week plus the whole Janna kit plus the kite back potential from the Ashe. I mean, this is the bread and butter of how Primal Instinct Black plays, and if they can manage to kite back out versus the likes of this Vi and this Ahri and this Mundo, it's drawn up very well for them. Now, the wrench in that game plan is going to be the poke threat that the Varus and Lux brings. Given that it's duoed up with the Lux, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing some kind of more lethality favored Varus. And if that's the case, you can really start to take people outside of the map. Not just the Syndra and the Ashe, but even the likes of the Janna or the Aatrox. These guys, they're not going to be the tankiest straight up, especially Aatrox if he goes for some of those more Eclipse-focused builds that have started to become more popular on Aatrox in recent times. They're going to be definitely at risk of getting picked from a bush, getting hit by a light binding, getting hit by a Chains of Corruption, and not being able to get back out.
Yeah, because there's only one cleanse here for Pib, so you're going to have to use it wisely for which ability you cleanse. Going to runes, though, yes, this is a surprise. Pretty stock standard for both these laners. Got a bunch of
Mundo wants max health?
Yeah, lots of health. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely expect to see. Yeah, no, definitely expect to see the Heart Steel and stuff coming out there as well. It's the bread and butter of the Mundo these days. That's First Strike Maokai coming out of the jungle, so that's a pretty spicy one.
I don't like First Strike Maokai. I mean, I mostly just don't like EP Maokai as a concept. Like, why do we need a wizard tree? Tank tree is cooler, but you gotta be really good for getting some poke down here. Not exactly the beefiest composition outside of this Mundo for the Iridescent Dawn, and Mundo tends to build a lot of HP, and when you're going this AP First Strike Maokai, you really do like that Demonic Embrace. That's a lot of HP damage against an HP stacking champion. And yeah.
Investing in the double first strikes here is Primal Instinct. They're looking to farm up that money off dealing damage to champions. Do like to see the Electrocute coming in off the Ari. This is going to be a little bit more pick focused of a composition. Ari can kind of play it both ways, right? They got two champions that really want to go in, and they got two champions that really want to poke and go for picks. Ari can kind of do it both. She's going to be kind of that flex pick that way, depending on how the game ends up going. It's likely going to be what her playstyle is going to focus around. They can also look to go in through these side lanes or something. If that is what they feel the need to do. Ari can do a little bit of that. Maybe not just as well as the Aatrox, but can at least contest if that is what the game comes down to. And that Arcane Comet on the Varus, that tells us this is likely going to be that poke-focused Varus build.
Yeah, if you really wanted to go for the fake out, you can go Hail of Blades, which both the on hit and the LD do run. Although usually it's lethal tempo for on hit, but yeah, it makes sense for this bot lane. Means that there might be some struggle dealing with this Aatrox in the late game if this Aatrox does get ahead. Of course, Aatrox is a bit of a snowball champion. If you put that Aatrox behind, not the most useful thing in team fights here. And another comment in this bot lane here for IDN. So there's going to be a lot of poke coming out here. And once they both hit 6 and you just hit them with the double ultis, someone's probably going to die.
Definitely going to be a little bit of death risk coming on there. The double Arcane Comet bot lane, always love to see it coming through. We'll see Primal Instinct are going to be able to play safe enough against that one, or if Ken Fused is going to get to have another pop-off performance, this time on a very different champion in the form of the Varus. I hear we are spawning in the background, so looks like it's about time for us to head over to the casters. Slayer and Bonfire ready to take it away for what could be our final game of the night, or could be the setup for a banger game number 3.
The fact that it could potentially be the final game of the night would be crazy to think about. Primal Instinct Black have been a force to be reckoned with in Divine all regular season long. They're the favored team, not only in seeding, but across the board from our broadcast talent today. And they've got their backs against the wall here, trying to force that do or die game 3, Bonfire.
Yeah, they desperately need this one, I think, is the understatement of the century. And we're going to see if they can't dodge out on this early invade or slash 4 people in the bot side for IDN. This is what IDN did last game as well. And they are again going to find nothing with it. A bit more of a default spread from Primal Instinct Black. But all in all, nobody going to be able to see each other, as the gold graph shows. Nobody has any money. Nobody has any money. The economy has collapsed on Summoner's Rift.
The economy's collapsed. We just got out of a Great Depression, and now everybody's going to get to cash in themselves. Especially one person going to cash in a lot of gold is going to be Nicknix. I am a fan of the Aatrox buff, but I'm also a bigger fan of putting Nicknix on carry-oriented top laners. He has made a statement out of so many top laners in his opponent's slot by picking big-time champions. So we'll look to see him carry with that Aatrox, because he really feels like a decently big focal point for Primal Instinct Black's comp.
Yeah, I think if I had to watch another Scion ult go wide, I was going to be very sad. So I'm happy that they got them on something else, with a little bit more agency, like you talked about. I always want to see Knick-Knack perform out, do a little bit better than the real life Knicks. Although, is that joke still viable? The Knicks are not bad now. I think it's still viable.
know.
They're not good either.
They're better than they ever used to be, though, so you can give them that credit at least.
I mean, low bar to clear.
I guess it is a low bar to clear to win a play. It's not too low of a bar to clear to win a playoff series in the NBA playoffs. I would say the low bar is making the playoffs. It's not hard to do that.
I guess that is true. Well, our discussion about the NBA playoffs will have to come at another day.
Divine playoffs.
I was about
That's
to
what we
say
gotta
this
focus on.
this is the important thing right now.
It'll be really interesting to watch this bottom lane. You heard both of our analyst desk talent talk about the double Comet bottom lane needs all action, all hours of the day, 25/8 on that weekly calendar. So we'll see how much Stringy Bird and Ken Fuse can get done.
Ooh.
Right now, the action might come top side as Laneless is setting up for a gank here. They got to pop that spell shield. There it is popped. Meow Meow Mix has to immediately pop Ghost. No flash available on this Mundo. And they might have a shot here at first blood. One more auto will do it. And Nick says his perfect start to game number 2.
Huge fan of the pathing right there from Laneless, just ignoring the entire bot side of the map. Now, it is going to mean that's Still Learning is going to be able to get the bot wave, or the bot camps, pardon, and could potentially look for a dive as well. I don't think Janikar and Tsuki Top can feel super comfortable on the bot side, but having full summoners up means that they should be fairly safe, as Still Learning now has to be a little careful and is just going to dash themselves away. So it is a bit of a gold trade, we'll say. Obviously, the first blood, really good to have, but it isn't for naught, as a good job from Still Learning to recognize what is happening and get the little bit of scraps left on the table.
And that's what IDN want to play towards, right? I think Meow Meow Mix realizes he's going to be weak siding. Now, obviously, when you're weak side, you still don't want to give up kills. But with the comp that IDN is drafted for the early game, they're going to be constantly having Still Learning put up pressure on that bot side, that red bot side jungle, and they're going to have those lanes shoving for Heppo and Ken Fuse with their early game advantages. He's got to make some kills come out of it now at this point, especially now that Nicknix has a grasp over the top lane island.
Yeah, Nicknix is in a fantastic position. Unsure if they were spotted out. The way that Meow Meow Mix is pathing, seems like they were very much aware and is going to back themselves away. And so Meow Meow Mix, it is not the flashiest of games, it is not the most fun of games, but it is an important role nevertheless. And you know, look, tank duty, everyone's got to do it at some point. It's like the military service for Korea.
Ooh, the pullback does land, does get a lot of healing back, and that's Mundo's bread and butter. All that was for Cannon Secure, by the way. Bonfire, which Mix did pick up the cannon.
Yeah, all important. Is going to have to back with teleport, although it doesn't actually look like they want to back, and Nicknix is going to... Ooh.
Gotcha.
No vision, by the way. Just a exquisite knowledge of the game.
Exquisite knowledge that the gigantic Darken that went in the tiny pixel brush probably be standing front side.
Exquisite. I mean, look, that is exquisite knowledge. You got to give respect for that. Yeah, I guess the exquisite knowledge wasn't that difficult to find, but still, really good job stopping the back right there. Although, ooh, there might be a good lane gank right here in the top side from Laneless.
Yeah, Laneless is setting up for it, and we're looking bot side, and the fact that Primal Instinct Black have the push is certainly a good thing. If you are a Primal Instinct Black fan, you want this bottom lane to be as boring as possible. That's basically the goal, because that's all Ashe really needs. She doesn't need early advantages going this lethal tempo set, and Tsuki Top did show in spurts the kiting ability to really helm this Ashe once fights go on.
Yeah, it's also like a very, very difficult bot lane to go into. The poke is super annoying. Also, the all-in pretty strong as well, just with the ability to stack up the passive on the Varus and get that big, large arrow out, alongside obviously all the damage that the Lux is able to put forth. So just has to play careful. Tsuki Top probably not having a lot of fun, but like you said, only down about 20 CS or 10 CS, 15 CS. I'm just can't read. Only down about 15 CS, now down to about 10. So not doing terribly. I think you would like to see this Maokai come help at some point, just because, again, they just are getting continuously shoved in. But right now, that really isn't the biggest of concerns for them.
I do like the Vamp Scepter pickup for Tsuki Top to deal with that poke. Means a more active passive healing can come across. Well, it's not passive, it's from auto-attacking minions. Nonetheless, healing comes across. IDN, they've changed up their comp a lot on fire, but one thing they prioritized in game number 1, we're seeing come across in game number 2, is early dragon stacking, and we know how big that played in their win last time round.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, a little bit at least, that PIB didn't even want to at least kind of get an eye out towards it, because they can't do anything about that across the rest of the map. They just gave it up for really nothing. But I guess with the way that they're being shoved in right now, there's not a lot that they can do. As we turn back towards the top side, and wouldn't you believe it, there's brawling.
That's Ghost Pop from Meow Meow Mix. The ultimate popped as well by Nicknix, but it looks like it was just a bit of a dance. Neither of them actually want to go full-fledged in here. And as the ultimate drops off for Nicknix, yep, just Summoner for ultimate.
Yeah, not a lot going on right now on the top side either. Nicknix getting themselves a good lead, and this is kind of more what I was expecting from last game. Not really from this game. Not as much brawling across the map. Both junglers haven't really been able to find a great lead to gank.
Ooh, here we go. There's the flash ball breaker in into the cease and desist. And they have desisted Janakar. Finally, this bottom lane finds a kill for IDM.
Janakar got in the car right there and drove off the side of the map. Heppo.
Heppo has ultimate. Tank top has cleanse and flash available. Dodges out on the first Q. The charm doesn't even land. And Suki Top just casually walks out of what could have been a very dangerous spot.
Able to get out there, but they're going to lose a wave and a tower plate. Just getting abused in the bot side right now. Suki Top doesn't have ultimate, and so with that Ash Arrow not available, does feel like Confused and Stringy Beard feel so comfortable. It also probably helps that Still Learning and Heppo have focused a lot of their time on the bot side as well.
Ooh, there's the pullback. Has to pop maximum dosage. Meow Meow Mix, though, with all that health coming back towards him, is able to neutralize the brunt from the mix.
Yeah, Nameless able to steal a blue buff for their troubles, and the wheel continues to turn. So neither team gaining too much of a crazy advantage right now, but we are seeing small advantages being created across the map. Right now, the biggest being in Confused, with that pretty substantial CS advantage in the bot side. In the top side, maybe a 2-wave, 3-wave advantage for Nicknicks.
Now looking to path up, they've brought Stringy Bird up here, who is the recipient of the only IDN kill. Usually you don't want the supports to have kills, Bonfire, but this game, kind of a different story with Lux.
Lux is a very annoying champion to give kills to, solely for the fact that the one-shot is definitely available for Lux, even as a support. Still able to land to get one-shots if the perfect situation is created, and so Stringy Bird, not a bad recipient, like you said, and has done a pretty good job of using that kill, roam around and kind of flex that kill, almost bragging across the map. Look at this kill I have. Need to be careful about me, but finally does end up where their home is in the bot side.
And we certainly do have a much more tame game number 2. That kind of makes sense because we had all like we were on 100 on the dial. We were on like 110 for a solid 20 minutes in game number 1. So I'm kind of enjoying this slower play because now we get to go from, oh, everything matters about the team fights to how can we watch these two teams move around? How does their macro really show off? And so far, we're even at gold. Feels like both teams have made moves that benefit their comps as the games go on.
Yeah, Nicknicks is going to try to take this. Oh,
we got it. Our Meow Meow Mix stole it away. Bot side, though, 3v3 potentially. The arrow does drop onto the head of Stringy Bird. There's Nature's Grasp. He lets it flash away. Platypus with a huge flank. Teleports in behind. Final spark. Not enough to burn Laneless through that Typhoon. And Platypus finds Stringy Bird still learning on the front line now. Getting burned down. Has no Vault Breaker. And, ooh, barely gets it up. That's 3 flashes to kill off Stringy Bird. Or, excuse me, still learning.
Flashes now.
They'll find that kill. They have no flashes left. And Heppo's here with Spirit Rush. Does land the charge. Huge Scatter of the Week, though. Stuns up both him and Confused, and he has to dash out. Nicknicks teleports in just a matter of time, but Suki Top is traded by Confused. Nicknicks can't catch that pesky fox until he flashes, and it's PIB to come out better for wear in the bottom lane.
Slayer, that fight was like when you are watching your favorite TV show and there's just 5 celebrity appearances right there. I was constantly like, what's Platypus doing down there? What the hell is Nicknicks doing there? At the end of the day, look, they gets the numbers that they need, and they're able to get the kill. Just absolute pandemonium across the map, but they get the team fight win, and that's a pretty big team fight win right there as well. 800 gold.
That was certainly a big swing, right? That was the fight the PIB needed. Utilize the fact that they are running double teleport and they have that teleport advantage, and now maybe they can stop this dragon stack as we do have the first Mountain Drake come on out.
I mean, hey, you're never mad about a Mountain Drake, you'd imagine.
Oh, but look, it's IDN that's on it.
Yeah, I guess that they just don't prioritize it very highly, and the first roams do go over. I guess there is a wave being pushed in the mid lane. Again, kind of surprising, although there is a teleport from Meow Meow Mix and no teleport from Nicknick, so I guess I understand it at least a little bit. And so instead, they're going to be happy with that gold lead that they've gained for themselves.
Good sidestep into the charm there from Heppo. Isn't able to be stunned up by Platypus. Was the victim of a lot of Scatter of the Week's last game. This time a lot more nimble on the Ahri, and showing it off now is Dude's still learning. There's the Vault Breaker, gets the flash, gets the knock up into the cease and desist. This is the two-man combo we talked about, and it shuts down Platypus. Here's the response, though, top side. Nick's trying to lock Meow Meow Mix, who pops the ghost, but can't avoid the Nature's Grass. That root will land. The knockback will come across, but they're not hitting the pressure points on this Aatrox combo, and the healing is just enough for Meow Meow Mix to dodge out on the play. And here comes the response. Still learning, and Heppo are now up top side. No ultimates available for either one of these PIB members. Vault Breaker canceled out. The Flash Charm does not land. Nick has a chance to turn this fight. They burn down Still Learning, and they're punishing IDN for not landing their skill shots. How much more can they find? There's another knockup on a Heppo on the wrong side of the lane. Gets the charm, but it's only a matter of time before Nick claims him. One more slice, and he's on a killing spree.
Aatrox is crazy right now. Nick's going absolutely insane. That knockup onto Still Learning to ensure that the Vault Breaker wasn't there. And then beautiful play dodging out on the charm. And Laneless and Nick's combination playing so well together. 3-0-2 on the Aatrox, 1-1-3 on the Maokai. We talked about how this bot side just wanted to play safe and get themselves not too far behind. They have done that, and they've ensured that their top side of the map is going to be so strong come late game.
Yeah, that's a bit of a tilter for Iridescent Neon, right? You get the Vault Breaker canceled out, Heppo flashes to get a charm, it doesn't land, so Nick can get more combos out. If that charm lands or if Vault Breaker's able to go through, I'm pretty confident that's more kills in IDN's pocket.
Yeah, you're just going into the meat grinder that is Nick's right there, and this is what made Aatrox so strong couple months ago in Worlds. It was just the ability to just stand in the middle of everybody and just everyone walks into them and pushes out so much damage, was tanky as well, and we're kind of seeing a repeat of that right now. Now, obviously, thank goodness that Aatrox isn't the way it is now, because that was way too broken, but kind of shades of that, right now.
Big shout out here to Platypus as well, though. He's got himself just as much about nearly the same farm lead over Heppo as Confused has on this Ashe, so it's partly why Primal Instinct Black, with all the pressure they have on them to even the series out, are in a good gold lead, nearly 2K against an IDN comp that was looking for some early leads.
Yeah, kind of necessary they'd gotten some. I will say Meow Meow Mix, for how difficult of a top lane it has been, has done a good job of still keeping up in farm, not falling too far behind in that regard, but I feel like this is when you're a top laner and you go, just don't come top anymore. Just leave me alone to my demise, You've given up so many kills to Nick's and making it so difficult for this Mundo. But like I said, shout out to Meow Meow Mix. Mundo versus Aatrox, still finding a way to do okay. And that's interesting. Have you ever seen that in a spectator game, Janna? And you can see where did you see that?
Yeah, you could see exactly where Janna is pointing those tornadoes, so
I didn't know that.
You could,
That's
I mean,
cool.
it's just, we give Riot some crap for the replay system, but there's a nice ad, so you know exactly where those tornadoes are going.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I thought it was a Talia knockup, and I was like, hold on, what's going on? But,
whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
What champions am I watching here?
What's going on here? But that's pretty cool. I've never seen that before. Sorry, I'm like a toddler watching Cocomelon. I get distracted easily.
Oh my god. Why do you have to say Cocomelon? Now the theme song's stuck in my head again. That was gone for like a solid year and a half, Bonfire. TikTok put it in my head for so long.
Yeah, anybody with like anyone with a little kid, either sibling or a child in their vicinity, probably has PTSD after I said that. But it's crazy to think that is now what little kids watch, But hey, man, changing for the times.
Yeah, I was more of a Backyardigans kid, personally.
Oh, loved Backyardigans. Backyardigans was a very good TV show.
Very, very good. Almost as good as how Nick's has played this game number 2. Had to be that focal point. He got the R5 pick on that Aatrox and has done a really good job to set himself up for success. Might be taking that success bot side. Platypus with another flank TP here. Oh. It's Nick's and Platypus to show up out of the teleport. The Sky with the weak lands, and there goes Stringy Bird. They claim another onto Confused. Heppo can only charm and dash away. The double TP puts more gold in PIB's pocket.
The wings are open for Nick's. They are flying this game right now. 5-0-2 on the Aatrox. any concerns that anybody had about this Aatrox pick have been nullified, because this is one strong champion, and Nicknicks showing that they should maybe never be put on tank duty again.
Yeah, right. You said it best here. Is Heppo now not even really saving his own mid lane? Hold on, Skyr of the Week does land the flat for Nicknicks. Doesn't get the first knockup. Does get the second. Heppo trapped, and Nicknicks is dominating.
No, Heppo had flash, so a little confused. Chose not to flash there. I was watching flash that entire time. It's not like it just came up. I guess was just too concerned about Janikar wrapping them, and so I guess I understand it, but ends up just giving more kills to Nicknicks. I don't think that's what you want to do, but Heppo saving it for another date, and is going to have to show why they saved it. It's on Ari, so Flash Charm will shut me up real well, but kind of a question mark right there.
A little bit of a head scratcher, but something that won't be a head scratcher for anybody at home is the fact that Primal Instinct Black are back to the ways we've seen from them all Divine season long. 4K gold lead just about, and really controlling the tempo of this game. IDN are really hard-pressed to find some picks, but luckily they do have the comp to do so.
Yeah, they have a fantastic comp if they were to find picks. I think Janikar and Suki Top are really the two members to look out for. And if you can just keep Nicknicks away from your backline, you're probably pretty happy. I think Still Learning and Meow Meow Mix are on Nicknicks duty right now. Keep Nicknicks away from your carries, keep Nicknicks away from Confused and Hippo, and you're a happy team.
Primal Instinct Black, a pretty happy team. It feels like maybe a bit of a sigh of relief, partially after game number 1 here. The sort of pseudo upset, at least by the standards of everybody here on the broadcast team, for Risen would say. And they will actually pick up that first turret as well. Even more of a gold injection, and looking for a bit more, trying to jump on Heppo. Ooh, gets Kento. Spear was a good Sky of the Week. Flashes galore, Still Learning, trying to burn down Platypus. Good Zanyas to dodge a cease and desist, but now his jungler might pay the price. Laneless trap gonna be burned down. Huge arrow lands though onto Platypus. Hepto gonna pick that one up. Meow Meow Mix in the front line. There's the Monsoon out to try and get some healing. Suki Top does good kiting, but Janikar is gonna pay the price as the Mundo is now running everybody down. Meow Meow Mix, one more cleaver, one more auto, and Suki Top falls.
This is what happens when you fight without Nicknicks, I suppose. Yeah, no Aatrox, no party. Nicknicks not there for that one. They try to pull the trigger and ends up being a shot in the foot. They're going to lose a tower for that. 3 members of the team. Absolute disaster for PIB. Now, this game isn't lost yet by any means. Nicknicks was still able to get a tower in the top side and should get a lot of jungle camps on the back end of it, but the gold lead that they had acquired is slowly being whittled down, and that fight might be looked at as one of the big changes in game 2 that was a disaster.
Yeah, it really just shows how reliant PIB are going to be on Nicknicks, but they've been in that spot multiple times this season across different leagues as well that we've seen. So it's just a matter of time before Nicknicks really pops off. Can IDN get enough of a cushion that when Nicknicks comes around, they can still put up a fight?
Yep, that is the big question. It did feel like they, didn't have a terrible team fight right there, all things considered. Obviously, it was a 3-for-0, but there were some moments where Heppo fell low and other members fell low as well. So it wasn't as cut and dry as a 3-0 team fight win usually looks. And with Nicknicks, that could really change for the better for PIB in the future. But at least right there, didn't go how they wanted.
And good on PIB here off. They were actually able, I'm not going to lie, I missed when it happened, but they were able to secure that first Infernal Drake, so they're able to stop the stacking from IDN. That was a big focal point that Mountain Drake did so much last game for IDN's comp, and luck would have it, they have the Infernal Soul with a very bursty comp they're going to go after right now. Suki Top is getting brunted, and there's the Charm and Cease and Desist. There's the pick comp in all of its colors.
Yeah, it's just always going to be a 4v5, assuming they're able to find Suki Top. This is just the nightmare Ashe game, I feel like. For anybody who plays AD carries, this one feels tough.
Oh, speaking of nightmares for AD carries, Nicknicks is the nightmare of Confused right now. Doesn't able to get the chain pullback. So Confused does stay safe. But you mentioned it, and Gordo and Gofrino both talked about it during the draft. No matter what PIB does, Iridescent Dawn Neon are going to be able to pick one target and say, bye-bye.
Yeah, that is not going to be easy for them as there's a dragon in 10 seconds. The resets are going to come across for IDN. If we could look at the gold real quick, I'm curious how much they're sitting on, as actually it does seem like
They all
most
cashed
members
it.
of PIB were able to cash as well. That was my biggest concern, is that it didn't feel like everybody on PIB had backed, but they had all cashed earlier, and so everybody's at full strength right now.
A futures market look out from Laneless, who's actually negative in money right now, but we'll be starting up onto that Drake, and we've seen fights like this before around those Drake pits, but no big wombos. There we go forward from Maokai. He's able to just burn Stringy Bird, who does absolutely nothing. Nature's Grass able to tag Meow Meow Mix, but nobody else, and now PIB with a pick will focus right back onto that Drake. The Monsoon to heal them all up. Going forward is Still Learning, but he doesn't pick up the Drake and is now jumped on. Still Learning caught in the back line, just being burned down by Suki Top and will fall. Meow Meow Mix doesn't have maximum dosage, finally pops it, but can't out-heal Nick Nix, and PIB have a Drake and more in store.
Yeah, they're able to get 3 as well, along with the Drake. The damage for Confused is nothing to scoff at, but you're just hitting Nick Nix. Nick Nix feels so comfortable with that damage going across to them. The front line too difficult for the side of IDN to break right now, and Baron's in the cards for them.
Yeah, right at 23 minutes, they're jumping onto the Nick Nix teleport back in. Still Learning is still down, and that is a scary Aatrox to even try and walk up in front of. Final Spark does some decent damage. There's some low health bars. Will Iridescent Don Neon pull the trigger? Baron under 3K, and now we see Nick Nick starting to zone, but he's rooted up and shut down. Big kill given over. The Baron will be picked up, but how many people get out here? Huge unleashed power. Zanya's Platypus by Ken Fuse, but he also will fall and will be the sacrificial lamb. But Heppo's on the chase, dodges out on the tornado, has one more Spirit Rush charge. Will he go into 3? He won't, and walk away. So Primal Instinct Black pay with 2, but pick up Baron with 3.
They lose a huge shutdown, but I think more importantly, they get the Baron. And so that is an essential objective that they're able to get onto 3 members of their team. It got a little dicey. I thought they were going to try to turn at some point. The Final Spark really dropped them all so incredibly low that they were just chewing through their nails, trying to get through it. They do end up doing so. So the Baron's down. They are the proud wearers of purple right now. Now the question is, what can they get with it?
Brings up an interesting point of discussion, right? You know, we haven't seen a lot of Lux play in Divine League this season, if at all, at support. And the problem with Lux support, she can do a lot in the early game. She can bring more damage across if needed, but she also can just be popped like a cherry blossom, like in a second, right? And we saw in that last fight, Stringy Bird, if one bit of CC lands on this Lux, not gonna be able to do anything about it.
Yeah, it's honestly more of a, what can I do with my little bit of health that I have? I don't think you're ever kiting for the Lux. I honestly, I would just let Stringy Bird die if it was me. And so the question is, how many E's, how many Q's, how many ults can you get off before you die? And that's really where the importance comes across. I think one of the biggest members to look for IDN right now is Confused. This Varus, 4, 3, and 4, 226 CS, by the way. Easily the most in the game right now. Probably one of the strongest members in the game right now, and does so much damage even to the tanky members. And so you have to keep an eye on this Varus as this game goes along, because if you lose track of where the Varus is, that arrow can hit you straight in the heart.
The problem is this Varus is on a ticking time bomb, right? Bonfire, that's what we talked about for, it feels like over a year. Lethality Varus does have a sort of climax that's earlier in the game, and there's going to get to a point where all those arrows, Laneless can just eat them like a piece of chocolate. Nick Nix can tank them as well. You really got to capitalize on Ken Fuse's advantage while the stove is still hot.
Yeah, even with the scaling, I still think that every time you're going into a fight down 20-30% of your HP, it still feels good.
Oh, flash, cease and desist. They found Suki Top again. Monsoon won't save you. What does the response look like? Laneless gets the Nature's Grasp out, jumps onto Still Learning. Big charge from Hepto, and Platypus is forced to flash away now. Drops Unleashed Power, but not enough damage, and Hepto is right up in his grill. Forces the Zanyas and should pick this kill up. The Charm, the Q will find it. On the other end, Laneless is burned down as well. IDN, still a thorn in the side of this PIB lead.
Do not resuscitate. Still signs of life. This team is not over yet. They still think this is a possible 2-0, and why not? When you have team fights like that, certainly in the cards, as Meow Meow Mix says, what is a minion? I do not care. As the wave, but just wants to push in. They're able to get 2 towers on the back end of it as well, and they gain the gold lead.
They do gain the gold lead, and that's another fight where We're asking,
Uh-oh.
where is Nick Nix?
Oh!
But, ooh, Hepto
Haircut.
just dodges out on that big stun. And yeah, that's the facial reaction we had too. Just absolute scared. But Hepto needs to be careful. Did just get Spirit Rush up though. And he's able to just stay safe. Big question though, we're still asking Bonfire. Nick Nix needs to be a factor in one of these big fights.
Yeah, and this is the issue or the concern that I had with Nick Nix. Hold on one second.
No, another cease and desist. You can't flash away from that one into the charm. Suki Top is still trapped in the nightmare Iridescent Dawn Neon have cast.
Yeah, this is a beautiful 1-2 punch that they have. When you combine it with the Lux as well and the Varus, you don't even need the Ahri alongside the Vi right there. It can be anything. Obviously, right there it was the Ahri. But there's been so many times where this cease and desist gets so much maximum value. But back to my previous point before we got interrupted by the beautiful engage that it was, it does feel like the range disadvantage of Nick Nix is starting to be an issue. 7-1-3, but what have you done for me recently?
Yeah, exactly. What have you done for me in the last 5 minutes? And now Iridescent Dawn Neon are back on Soul Point. And I kind of mentioned it earlier, Bonfire, but what a perfect soul to get for their comp again.
Yeah, no, this is an unbelievable soul if they were able to get it. So keep an eye on them. They're definitely going to be trying to push the advantage there. I think another thing that Nick Nix does well that we haven't really talked about is the split push. Aatrox as a split pusher, obviously not the best, but still very strong. And so you have to be concerned about losing much of your base in a team fight. But we have seen team fights without Nick Nix. Spoiler alert, doesn't really go for that well for PIB. And so even with the split pushing of a Aatrox, I still think you would rather have Nick Nix in team fights.
And the problem we're seeing is that Iridescent Dawn Neon, we made the jokes, right? Suki Top doesn't get to play the game. The problem there is, and going back to your range advantage point, is the only AD range left on this entire team for Primal Instinct Black is Suki Top. So when they lose them in fights, it's just no damage coming across really except some bursty AP champions.
Yeah, we need to see more out of Janikar. I don't want to put them on blast, but you need to see a huge ultimate.
Well, we'll see if some ultimates come out here as Lindless might be picked. Does flash away from the light binding. Does get the root, and now we finally have Nick Nix here. They're targeting the tanky Mundo. Ash Arrow does land onto Ken Fuse's head, and Meow Mix actually picks off laneless. Nick Nix trying to heal through it all. Doesn't have enough. Platypus does get a kill on a Stringy Bird. Monsoon doing a lot of healing for Primal Instinct Black, but Ken Fuse has killed off Platypus. They're jumping onto Suki Top. Huge piercing arrow comes across Nick Nix. Desperate flash forward. Will find Ken Fuse, but he'll turn around to find all of his team dead. Ace, Iridescent Dawn Neon.
Iridescent Dawn Neon. They don't care about the Aatrox. They just let him die last, cold-blooded, and they get the ace right there. And what's the plus right there at the end of it? Ace and what's the and? I believe it is the base right now. That's inhibitor turret's gonna fall, and with the demolish, the inhibitor's gonna fall as well. They get themselves a 3,000 gold lead at this point. Iridescent Dawn Neon cruising.
Cruising is such a nice way to put it there, Bonfire. They've broken the base open. They have a really good window for Baron now. And the best part is they just have the great recipe for fights. Again, another game where it feels like IDN are team fight central.
Yeah, and this was a team that honestly looking forward you have to be careful about, but hold on one second. Teleport from Platypus. They don't want to just give this one up already.
It seems like IDN, they haven't been able to reset the majority of their members. Yeah, there's another teleport as Nick Nix is here. Hepto jumped on now by the Nature's Grasp. Another stun will land. They're trying to pincer them in, and they have Hepto pinned. Was able to dash away. Can he get far enough away? Meow Mix will die on the back line. Ken Fuse just blows Platypus out of the water. And does Nick Nix have enough healing through all this damage? The Monsoon will help it out. Laneless jumps forward. Suki Top finally getting to play the game. Has another shutdown. Two-man light binding forces the cleanse out of Suki Top, and it's enough to keep Stringy Bird safe. Ooh, big charge by Hepto, but doesn't have enough damage over top. And Primal Instinct Black may have found a crack in the armor of IDN.
Yeah, but hold on a second, because when Confused is alive, everyone needs to be careful. So much damage from this Varus, and we saw this in Worlds as well.
Oh, the range is so big here. Wow, forces the zombies out of Suki Top. The Everfrost nearly claims it. Stringy Bird nearly falls, but they're just so pesky. They're like a gnat in the ear of PIB. They can't go on this Baron because they can't stop Ken Fuse poking from a distance.
Yeah, and just like a gnat, you can't kill it, can you? They are unkillable because of that range advantage. This is what I was talking about. Laneless isn't able to get on anybody without taking so much damage as the Maokai. Feels like Nicknix and Laneless are just continuously getting outranged, and this game is slowly going in IDN's favor. It was a good team fight win right there from PIB. Baron's on the cards. I think they know that this is going across. The question is, what can they do about it?
What kind of carousel is this game? Oh, the sapling! Oh, Sniper, get down. The sapling finds Stringy Bird, and Layla's is now going forward. Nature's Grasp. Couple good roots to stop PIB, but they're just stunning and burning down Meow Meow Mix. Look at the healing coming across, though. The maximum dose is keeping him safe. All the attention is on this Mundo, and he just won't die.
He's doing not even won't die.
He's full HP.
Full health, Slayer.
All right, dude. All right, dude.
Build heal cut. Dear God.
But look at this, Primal Instinct Black, they still want the Baron. Stringy Bird is down. They have the 5 versus 4. These two teams just want the Baron so bad. Another big piercing arrow from Confused in the background. And they'll try it again on a Meow Meow Mix. He doesn't have ultimate up just yet. Hepto figures out a big charm, big Everfrost. CC assists over top. They've got Suki top once more, courtesy of Still Learning. But what does the rest of the fight look like? Heppo's chasing down Platypus. The charm file's just too short. Still Learning on the other side, jumping on to Nicknix, but he's got the healing, he's got the fight, trying to burn down Still Learning. World Ender popped, and he'll slice him up. What's going on in the base, though? The super minions have knocked down 2 Nexus turrets. Hepto tried to backdoor it. Platypus is gonna try and stop him, but he's too low. Zanya's. The Everfrost lands, and Heppo is able to kill him off to be unstoppable. What kind of fight is this? I have no idea what's going on, and it's still not over. Flameless has Nature's Grasp up again. He's gonna try and jump Meow Meow Mix. The tornado doesn't land. Final spark, not enough damage. And finally, the fighting is over with Nexus turrets down in PIV's base.
Slayer, take a breath. You've earned it. Everyone, give a clap to Slayer. That was the longest I've ever heard someone talk over a team fight. That was like a 3-minute team fight. It just continuously kept going. This slow game is anything but at this point. Things I've learned. Meow Meow Mix, unkillable. Confused, so much damage. Nicknix isn't able to get onto the back line. Suki top is a problem when goes unchecked. And Platypus is consistently getting outplayed by Heppo. Those are the spark notes. So if you need to write an essay on this game and you only have 30 seconds, write it now. Because this game is continuously changing and evolving.
Bonfire is not Chat GPT, he's League GPT.
Exactly.
Little summary. Craziest part, the game is even in gold right now.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, they're trying to jump Heppo. Nicknix has teleported in. This is so secure for IDN if they can burn it down in time. Nature's Grasp not going towards the pit. There's the arrow. They have Still Learning. Can they pick up the Drake? It is stolen away, and now they have Still Learning trapped in the pit. Cease and desist forward. Tries to jump Platypus, but he's dropped himself. Over the wall goes Laneless, trying to get Stringy Bird. Flash from Nicknix. The Blast Cone, the only thing to save him. And Primal Instinct Black save themselves soul and find a couple kills to boot.
Yeah, they put themselves on soul point as well. And hey, stop me if you've heard this one before. Baron's in the cards. Now the issue is the base is blown open, and so if I'm IDN, I say, great, you're going for Baron. I'm just gonna start to going for the base, and exactly that's what they're gonna try to do right now. But they're doing it way too slowly. That Baron falls, and that is a dragon, a kill, and a Baron. PIB are back in the driver's seat in this crazy clown car of a ride.
Great job picking off Still Learning there. There's a couple of tools that they had to utilize to stop the Vive from Smite securing, and it was the arrow from Suki top that made sure Soul wasn't picked up. Who knows what that fight looks like if Soul is in the hands of IDN. And oh, here's another arrow. Stringy Bird, final spark, but catches a brunt end of the stick. Platypus picks up that kill courtesy of his AD carry.
Yeah, Stringy Bird has to fly themselves back to the nest, and that's actually quite a disaster because now it is a 4v5 with a pushing comp and Baron.
Yeah, they are just bearing down like it's an ARAM right now towards mid lane. They know they have the advantage. They know they have the tempo. Second tier 2 mid turret already dropped off. IDN desperately trying to wave clear. Oh, there's a big lethality arrow to land on a Platypus, and they make PIB think twice about this push.
Yeah, I'm ready to start seeing when that arrow stops hitting like a truck because it is just not happening right now. Maybe in 20 minutes, but at least right now, Confused is certainly a problem. If you've watched the Barbie movie, he's Ken and he can do things too.
Well, So can Heppo as he just tanks an arrow for free, courtesy of, I believe that was Banshee's Veil. They made sure he didn't get stunned up there. So he ultimate down here for PIB as they continue to press mid lane as hard as possible.
Yeah, it does seem like someone who's falling apart right now is Stringy Bird. This Lux just not really doing enough damage. That ult should really do a lot more. The vision, not really in favor of IDN. And with 5 members there, if they overstep, they are DEAD. For anyone who doesn't read very well, that is dead. Luckily, they are going to save caution, we'll say. That is the word I'll use right there. Show caution and stick together and ensure that nobody else dies. So this game starts to slow down just a little bit at the 38-minute mark. It's 3,000 gold lead, but at this point, that is penny cash.
I'm still waiting to see if Platypus can get Unleashed Power off onto one of these squishy members. I believe he's done it a couple times with Stringy Bird, but for people who are, you know, still a little confused or don't know what the new Syndra's about, it's the fact that she has execute ability. Unleashed Power, after its Splinter upgraded, gets execute under 15% HP, which not only makes it just a dire ultimate to dodge if you're an AD carry player, but low-key makes it a bit of a tank buster, and I'm waiting to see if Platypus can finally get that execute off with one of these combos.
Yeah, if you're able to kill Confuse or Heppo, that is most of / all of the damage of Iridescent Dawn Neon. It's gonna need to be one of those two, but Platypus has tried to do that and has failed simply because of that range difference that we talked before. Really needs to find a beautiful scatter to the weak, and so far hasn't really been able to do that in the most important of fights. But never say never. Justin Bieber taught me that.
Salute to Justin Bieber. I love that quote a lot as we had the game sort of slow down once more here. It feels like both teams are just eyeing 2 things, Bonfire. Dragon Timer and Baron Timer.
I would honestly say the base as well. It does feel like PIB need to be so concerned about a base rush. And you see the way that they're posturing on mid lane. They're giving up top and bot priority just for that.
There's the arrow to land. Do they pull the trigger? Stringy Bird the target again. Flashes away from Nature's Grasp. Rooted up, but should be safe unless Nicknix has something to say about it. Has to go golden. And oh boy, Stringy Bird, God still learning, killed as well. The Unleashed Power doesn't kill him off, but Nicknix should be able to do it. Vault Breaker over the wall. Still safe, just buying time for the rest of his squad. But one more knockup and one more auto will do it. PIB find a big pick in the mid lane.
Yeah, they lose a top tower, and they're gonna lose a bot tower as well. So it's 2 kills for 2 towers. Actually, I take that back. That tower was already gone. So I thought Meow Meow Mix had taken that bot tower. It was already gone. Hold on a second. Apple should never be in danger here, but it is gonna stop the back here. I'm sure Apple would love to get it back. Undo,
Look at
behind
this
enemy
Bonfire.
line.
Still learning is the huge pick to get because Drake was right up, and with no jungler, it's Primal Instinct Black that come back in the Drake count, and they pick up that Infernal Soul.
So they have Infernal Soul right now. Honestly, it's more important that they don't give it over than that they get it. I think that if they give it over to Confuse or Stringy Bird, it's cooked, but luckily they are able to secure it for themselves. And don't get me wrong, there still are some members, Platypus and Suki Top come to mind, who really do still benefit from it. But if Confuse had gotten that soul, this game would have been as good as over.
But now we finally have Primal Instinct Black back in the driver's seat. The last time they had a 4K lead was 25-30 minutes ago, as we've had another back and forth affair. And just like game number 1, it just feels like one team fight could do it for this entire game and potentially series.
Especially with how open these bases are. You don't really even need a wave for honestly either of these teams. It's how tanky some members are, and not many towers available. It's possible.
Oh, hello, Heppo. He's trying to make something come across. The final spark just whiffs on a Janikar. He's able to flash out, and now Laneless will turn the charge right on to Confuse, and they have him pinned. He goes gold. He's picked off, and oh boy, here comes Aatrox. Nick still has that World Ender, still sped up on a rampage, picking off IDN one by one, and Heppo can only flash away to save himself, but it's PIB again in the driver's seat.
That was a beautiful pick on the Confuse. They're looking for an end right now.
Oh, the pullback's gonna come across for Hepto. Has to be careful about those knockouts. Dodges out the Vault Breaker. Still learning, throws out the cease and desist. But now he's the target for all 5 members of PIB. It's another huge pick, and they're just burning the base open. Could this be the end?
Slayer, could this be the end? I think this is the end, and indeed they will confirm it. Heppo falls, Meow Meow Mix. It doesn't matter. The mad scientist has to watch as the creation he helped create destroys his Nexus.
He can heal out and tank all he wants, but his Nexus can't do the same. Primal Instinct Black crawl us back to a game 3.
PIB, even the score, IDN can only stand at watch in a 42-minute bloodbath. They end up falling, and this game, this series, is going to 3, Slayer. Would you have it any other way?
I would not, Bonfire. What a game through full of just so many interesting little wrinkles, right? I mean, this game was in the favor of either squad at multiple points, some big mistakes, some big picks, threw it to this 45-minute banger, and we're gonna break it all down. And by me, I don't mean myself and Bonfire. I'm talking about our analyst desk that's been standing by, and I've been seeing them. They've been trying to figure out exactly what replays to pick. So let's throw it over to see exactly how they break down this game number 2.
One, go Farino, as we are coming back to the analyst desk. We have got 3 games for everybody tonight. Neck and neck, back and forth between Primal Instinct Black and Iridescent on Neon. But Primal Instinct Black, they refuse to get backdoored 2 days in a row. They get themselves the win here in game number 2.
Yeah, it felt like it was in IDN's court for a lot of that game. Not by a huge margin, but it felt like they kind of had a bit of the driver's seat there. They're the ones knocking on the Nexus. They're the ones winning a lot of these team fights here, but the grip Pip just in the end able to stop themselves from getting picked up just too often there, because towards the end we saw the big fights from Iridescent on Neon where they did win. They just get that huge pick that snowballs into another kill, and then they're able to win the fight from there. But Instinct Black stick together, and they're able to get some picks themselves and really just seal the deal on this game and bring us the distance.
Definitely. And that means we have got a couple of replays to review, but we're gonna have to get to game 3 here pretty soon. I mean, we are going late into the evening here, Go Farino, especially if you're in certain areas. But let's check out this early on fight here. This is from about 16-ish minutes into the game. The TP in from Nick Nix makes a big turnaround for Iridescent on Neon.
Yeah, and after this fight, you have a 5-1 or 5-0 Nick Nix, and that double TP really just slaughtered them here, and they're able to grab the dragon off the back of it as well. I forget, is there another kill?
I don't
They
think
killed
so.
the dragon.
I don't
So
think
there's
so.
at
I think
least
the dragon
one.
counts as the kill, and then we're done from there. But still,
Yeah.
2 kills go over to the Aatrox, and that's part of what snowballs Nick Nix to being the monster that he eventually becomes for Primal Instinct. They are able to take that one, and they are able to keep snowballing that into more and more fights as the game continues to drag on.
Yep, although the game definitely did drag on there, to say the least, and
Woo!
no one really snowballed out of control. I believe IDN had a bit of a decent lead for a bit there. In the mid game, early game, Pib had a little bit of a lead going on. It was really back and forth until the end there. Like, we'll see a gold grab eventually, I think, but I believe we have a second replay in just a second here.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that caddy sound correct? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's check it out here. This is going to
This is
be
29
Meow Meow
minutes.
Mix finding his little angle on the laneless here to keep the fights going. Lockdown follow up, but kind of find themselves in a little bit deep here, Go Farino.
Yeah, because you have to look here. Suki top and Platypus just not really able to get into this fight for the longest time, so that's enough time to wail away on this Aatrox from Nick Nix. And now this John ulti, it's just not enough. Too many people had already dropped. You have to blow the Mikhails there, and Suki top. Yeah. As good of a kidding god you are, there's a Mundo already on top of you, so you're not running away from that one. And that was just like one of those huge mid-game fights that IDM really took control of. Even though they won that fight, they did not win the game, but it definitely was pretty close.
Definitely was just so back and forth here. There's dragon steals, there was team fights that go forward and backwards and sideways. It was everything you could hope for from a good competitive game of League of Legends there, as I do think we have a little drag steal coming on up here, or it might be our game-ending fight. We'll take a little grab bag out of it. It's going to be one or the other. It's whatever Caddy delivers to us here as we round on out our set of replays.
as we stall for time.
All right, it is going to be the game-ending fight, so we're getting on over here to see exactly how it did close on out for Primal Instinct, and it's off this big pick attempt onto Janakar, but in reality, it's Confused who gets picked.
Yeah, sadly, the charm bringing you out of that the giant laser
Final
beam
spark.
there, and the counter engage by Piv is just so great here. You land that enchanted crystal area, you just immediately start dogpiling. You're getting the world ender resets here too for Nick, so this is just impossible to run away from. Here comes the base, and I mean, IDN, they have to go for this fight here, but it is such a hard sell for them if they're not able to get that poke or pick beforehand. And yeah, unsurprisingly, they win the 2 versus 5 here.
Definitely. They do indeed end some worlds here as they take that fight. They make pick after pick after pick, and no ability to really play it out front to back there. It all comes up for Primal Instinct Black. They are going to end up taking our game number 2 and pulling us into a game number 5. Now, we are already starting to get late into the night here, so we are going to throw it to a break and get into draft number 3 as soon as we can. We're going to be back before too long with Slayer and Bonfire, taking you through the draft. We'll see you soon.
It all comes down to this, ladies and gentlemen. Do or die game number 3 on the cards here. And Wow, what a fight back for Primal Instinct Black. I mean, game number 1, they were on the wrong side of a Wombo combo bonfire. And game number 2, they were quite literally a couple of Winions and maybe Heppo away from getting backdoored to get swept. But they're still alive, and they're here in the game number 3 draft as we stay on the same sides throughout the whole series.
Yeah, the series has been such a banger that if you've looked in my windows at all, it has gone from sunset to completely pitch black, which just goes to show that this has been an absolute heater of a series. The first game wasn't super long, but it was one of the most insane team fought games I've ever seen, and that last game was 40 plus minutes. So we've had a very fun series. This has been a really great way to kick off the Divine playoffs, and I'm glad I get to spend it with you. You know, I'll get sappy right now. It's been a fun night. It's been a fun night.
Aw, this guy cares about me. I only care about the demon in my closet that comes out
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's true. That's actually, I sent that. It's a love demon.
It's a love demon.
Yeah, everyone knows what it is.
I wish I could post it, but Gordo, we were talking about that joke, and he actually posted a very funnily photoshopped screenshot of the demon in the background. I wish Caddy could take it just to throw it up because it's funny, but it was very funny. I appreciate that from Gordo. All tangents aside, game number 3 draft bonfire. We're finally getting going here with the bands. And I really don't know what to expect because it's rare you get a series where a team drafts from the same spot 3 times in a row. You can start throwing a lot of fakes with even these first couple of bands if you want.
One thing I won't fake is a Kaisa ban. Ban the Kaisa. Guys, don't overthink it. Ban that Kaisa. Was an absolute problem for to go against previously, and was almost a problem to go against the Varus. Honestly, is it just an ADC diff is a real question, but no, I think it's just Kaisa. Although the Varus was a huge problem as well. But yeah, Ken Fuse, man, I do think that people need to be saying that name more often, as actually the first AD carry banned off the board gonna be that Ashe. And so it does seem like Iridescent Dawn Neon has had enough of those shenanigans. No more Ashe. It's annoying to go against, banning it out.
You know, the funny thing is that I don't think anybody here we have covered yet is the fact that Suki Top is actually a sub. So Key Lime is the starting AD carry for Primal Instinct Black, and at least on the rosters for Divine. So maybe he doesn't have that complex of a champ pool, and they're like maybe the ideology for IDN is now, all right, we take away the Ashe, maybe we can catch Suki Top on a champion he isn't a kite god at. But the Varus is going to be locked back in here on the other side here, or for Confused. So I guess they're running back that lethality Varus.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of champions that you could play here for AD carry. There's not a ton of great meta champions, but the beautiful thing about the AD carry meta role right now is kind of everything's viable. I could see a Jinx, I could see a Tristana, I could see a Ziggs. There's a lot of different pathways you could go. I would avoid the Zeri just into a Varus, and I would also avoid the Aphelios just with the recent nerfs. But a lot of great champions you could go, and it really does feel like sky's the limit right now. So that is a lovely, lovely thing. Oh, he's right behind me, isn't he?
Shout out Gordo, the Photoshop.
Shout out Caddy, man.
Photoshop aficionado is wow. Okay, so we're just rolling through the Slayer fun picks. I am a bona fide Ezreal stan, and Suki Top is gonna break out the Ezreal. Don't worry, guys, I'm back. I'm safe. There's nobody back there.
That was hilarious. That was genuinely the highlight of my night. Thank you, Caddy, and Gordo as well. That was very funny. Ezreal into a Varus, so I think you have the poke right there. I do think picking Ezreal this quickly does allow for counter picks. It also just allows for the Arivi again, which was a huge issue for PIB. And so PIB are going into a very similar composition, but it was not a bad composition by any means. Now the question is, where do they take this draft? Because they have a lot of different avenues. Where do they go with it?
I'm just what gall does Iridescent Dawn Neon have? They're going, all right, we're gonna draft the same comp, same style from a game we lost.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know exactly how this plays out. We know exactly how Iridescent Dawn Neon succeed with this comp, and immediately out the gate, I love the Ezreal pick, obviously for the reasons you know, Bonfire, but also Ezreal at least has a chance to get out of that cease and desist combo because he'll have a window to at least E backwards here. Maybe create some distance, can run cleanse. We'll have flash. Ash, it really felt like, if Flash was down, if that combo landed, Suki Top was dead. Ezreal has a bit of a better chance to fight.
Yeah, I don't like this Janna pick. It really felt like Janna card didn't do a lot in that last game. I cannot remember many impactful tornadoes as a whole, and the ultimate was almost always used defensively. And so I don't like it. I don't think that these trades are very extended. I think you're just gonna get poked out or taken down pretty much immediately. And I would have traded it out for something different, but that's just me. And they obviously see something I do not. I do think it pairs a little bit better with the Ezreal, all things considered, but I don't love it. I do not love this Janna pick. I will level with you right now.
Well, let's see how many champions from last game will land on for this game, because all the champions, I believe, from last game are still available. That's all right. So we're at
Hold on.
6
What's
of
going
7.
on here?
We're at 6 of 7 returning champions. The Ezreal is the only one that hasn't returned. And looking at bans, every single champion played last game is available for both of these sides. So are we
Yes.
quite? I pray it's not a Lux again. That just did not work.
I would simply slam the don't go
That's
Lux.
a lot better.
Rakan's better, and then I would go. That's fine
course.
too. I don't love it as much. That's
All
good.
right, pick something, man. All right, all right.
Okay, all right. No more shenanigans. Okay, thank you. Jesus.
Karma.
All right, listen here, Buster. You better pick a champion.
Buster.
Karma.
This is 1955.
Listen here,
Listen here,
Pally.
Buster.
Karma Varus, again, just poke the heaven. You're trading a little bit of that root, but I think Karma's better for team fighting anyway. Just go Cassante. I mean, realistically, love a Cassante right here. I would go Cassante.
Oh.
Okay.
No.
Who
Now
does
that
this
makes
guy
this
think
like-
he is? Okay, there we go.
All right. Well, at least we're getting unique champions finally. Aatrox
Yeah.
is still up here. There are 5ing once again towards Nicknicks. So, do they want to give him a carry? They've drafted around him to give him a carry. There's no Camille. Still Aatrox. There's a couple of other ones. Fiora, if
Renekton's
you
up.
want to get a little dicey. Renekton. Jax is still
Jax.
available.
Yep.
They're going to go with none of those
Cannon,
champions,
if
are
you
they?
want AP.
They're
I
going to go with
don't.
none of those somehow.
I would not go tank. Cassante's not terrible. Fiora's fine. Yeah,
Oh.
Fiora's fine. I will say I think that Fiora. Actually, no, I take that back. Fiora's really good because you can riposte a lot. So I actually like the Fiora. Stop pretending there's a demon behind
The
you.
light went out.
Oh, it did go out.
The light
That's a
went
little
out.
scary. I'm a little afraid for you right now.
It's movement censored, so I was waiting for it to do it while we were on camera though, because I thought that'd be really funny, and it
Do you
did.
think that means somebody moved behind you to turn it off?
No, it's movement. It's movement based.
Oh, so if it turns on, then we need to be really concerned.
It's power saving because we're all eco-friendly here at the Divine League.
So hold on, if it turns
You
on,
say something, man.
it's just funnier if I don't say anything. If it turns on, is that when we need to be concerned?
Yeah, if it turns on back there while I'm talking, yes, I am home alone. So
All
if
right,
it turns
I will
on,
yell.
be scared. But tangents aside, Bonfire, let's get out of here before we go down a bigger rabbit hole. Let's throw it back to the analyst desk, see how Gordo and Gofrino figure out this draft that looks eerily similar to game number 2.
Well, you heard it here first, everybody on the internet. Slayer is home alone right now. But with that stated, let's get into breaking down the draft from game number 3 here. It looks like it's going to be a real similar look coming through from both teams, but maybe a little bit of last-minute changes coming on through due to some picks and bans. It is going to be the Ezreal selection for the side of Primal Instinct Black. Rather than that Ashe, they're taking the Fiora into the top lane, and then the Olaf coming on through for Iridescent on Neon.
Yeah, and Pip's comp is interesting because with the Fiora, they could maybe just look to do the split push win con here. Because you still have a very strong pending composition with the other 4 picks here from Pip. So you can just AFK, do Nayram in the mid lane, and hope that Nick's Estes Fiora is able to pop off and just become that nuisance in a side lane. I don't think we're going to see that full sort of game plan for Snake Black, but it is definitely something they can lean into. But yeah, other than that, it does feel like a lot of deja vu from game number 2.
Definitely does feel that way, as Gonna really be a big question on whether or not it ends up executing the same way, though, right? First of all, is it even gonna be the same Varus? Because you don't have to go poke Varus. They've chosen to go poke Varus while pairing it up with this Lux lane. Now that they have something perhaps not, it still could be a poke lane. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Karma can play that poke focus, but also go for a little bit more of a traditional carry Varus. And knowing that you're up against this Ezreal, who's going to be playing at such a great distance, maybe that ends up being the selection they want to go with. And then you also have this Olaf now, who's going to be looking to just run on through these fights, going to be a lot more aggressive of an option than what that Dr. Mundo was bringing to the table. We'll see if
Yeah.
those are going to be the things that end up making the big differences here for the side of Iridescent on Neon coming into this third game of the night.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone the distance here. It has been nearly 2.5 hours on broadcast, so it's been a long one here for these two games. The first one was a bit over 31 minutes, and the second game, closing on 42 minutes. Uh, that's definitely going to wear you down as a player and as a caster slash analyst desker slash maybe producer. We haven't got confirmation from Kenny on that one yet. Either way, though, looks like everyone's locked in the client here. The big question that we both have is whether this is going to be the on-hit Varus or if it is going to be the poke Varus again, because you can go double poke at the spot, or you can go the more utility.
You definitely can. You've got plenty of different options to go for here. And Confused, he played a solid Varus in the last game. They were real close to being able to take that one. Came down to just a couple of little differences here and there. I do not blame them for trying to run back a similar lockdown focused composition. This Vi Ari has been such a staple of the meta for so much of this year. Not surprised at all to see them continuing to run it back. Still going to be able to get out of this Janna. Still going to be able to get out of this Syndra. The Ezreal might be a little bit more slippery, though. We're going to see how much of a difference that ends up making. And then, of course, it's going to be Nicknix trying to dominate through the side lanes this game, maybe even more so than he was on the Aatrox, right? You heard the casters complaining all game long. Where's Nicknix? The Aatrox, he's off of the side lanes. He's not showing up to these fights. Now, Nicknix on a champion that perhaps embraces that identity a little bit more.
A lot more. Because VR is like the split push champion. Like they really just hard went in on that. Does do good team fights, can do really well in those, but the split push is really obnoxious. Of course, Yoma Mike as the Olaf is going to have an obnoxious early game themselves here. So Nick Nix is going to have to play careful there, especially if Laneless is not in the area to out here. Yeah, this is the Olaf top setup. You have Conquer, and you have the approach velocity. Okay, that's pretty standard for Olaf, but Conquer and approach velocity, game-winning combo on the Olaf because they just can't run away from you, and you're just stacking up that conk and hitting them really hard with that true.
Yeah, definitely going to be a dangerous Olaf once he gets that stacked on up. And are they going to be able to melt him down fast enough to really be able to nullify it is the big question. It's not like they have terrain or anything. That's kind of the natural predator of the Olaf if you do want to make sure that he can be kept at a distance. Yeah, your Ezreal can shift over the wall and maybe try to create some distance that way. But as long as Olaf has a target, he's going to be Ragnarocking and rolling. And it's going to be very difficult to actually be able to get onto him and be able to take him down unless you have the burst damage, unless you have that super scaled up Syndra just bursting him out with the unleashed power. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to get to that point and who's going to be able to build up these early leads. Is it really going to start to lean towards the top lane? Because we've had 1 or 2 tanks in the top lane for both of these games, and that's kind of led to the junglers ignoring the lane. That's not going to be the case this game, so I expect to see maybe a little bit more jungle attention being paid up towards that side of the map.
Yeah, especially with a scaler like Fiora and then just so much early lane aggression like the Olaf, both these junglers have some pretty strong incentives there. Like, if you put the Fiora 6 feet under, and Nick Dix isn't able to do anything in teamfights with the side lane, that gives you so much power over the map as Iridescent, Dawn, Neon. Over on the other side, though, Primal Instinct Black, and you get Nick Nix ahead. You get a little bit of a win con,
Definitely build yourself a win con. You can build a win con through a lot of these different lanes if you're able to get them ahead. Definitely some snowball-y setups coming on through here, especially if it does end up being that poke Varus. That's what I'm on the lookout for, is to see what the mastery selection ends up being. The rune selection, I get it. They're not masteries anymore, but I'm going to keep calling them that in my heart of hearts, and it will be that arcane comet that ends up coming through.
Yeah, that's fine here. Especially if you really want to snowball in the spot lane. It's not like there's any mega tanks on this enemy team, unless we see the full tank Maokai coming out here from Nameless, which is a possibility, but it is that first strike, so maybe not. But double comet once again in the spot lane. We saw how obnoxious that could be, but they were weathering it just okay last time around. But this time you won't get the early Vamp Scepter sustain that comes with picking Ash. Yeah, tongue twister.
Definitely. So we'll see. Maybe they're going to rely on the sustain to come from somewhere else. Maybe they're just going to rely on Ezreal not taking the poke damage in the first place. Those are the options that they have available, but looks like we're getting ready to load onto the Rift here, so we're going to send things back on over to Slayer and Bonfire, who will take us for what could perhaps be another 40-minute neck-and-neck game between Primal Instinct Black and Iridescent Dawn Neon. Only one can take the win. Only one can move on to the next round of playoffs.
We aren't sending it yet.
We are not sending it yet. Well, we're almost going to be ready to send it. I heard League of Legends noises. I got a little bit too excited. But these teams are still going to be duking it out, and they're still going to be the last game of the night, one way or the other. Only one team can take this game, and we cannot end up getting dragged on to 4 and 5 games. We're not that deep in the bracket yet. So it's going to take a little while before we really get to see the full power of the the 5-hour-long series. We're at the 2.5-hour mark here. We'll see how much longer we can drag it on.
Alrighty. Oh, all right. Now it sounds like we're ready to send it to the two casters.
For sure. I heard a horn. I heard plenty of things. So take it away, Slayer and Bonfire, as we hit the Rift for game number 3.
Thank you again, Gordo. I love how Gordo Bonfire got through his entire prepared ending analyst desk speech, and then he was just like, "Oh, never mind." That's what happens when you go the full length of the best of 3 with 80 minutes of game time to kick off the Divine playoffs.
Yeah, I will say, and I've obviously lived on a higher up floor. I can see somebody across the way, 2 houses down, on top of their balcony, and they can probably hear everything I say. And so they've probably heard some craziness. I blame Iridescent Dawn Neon and Primal Instinct Black for causing me to say these crazy shenanigan phrases, but I hope that they don't complain too much because, look, in my defense, this has been a banger of a series.
You should just put a little sign on the outside, tape it outside your window, and say, "For great casting like this," and point to you in the window, and then put your Twitter below it.
That's a great idea. I should put a sign that says, "Please don't call my landlord."
I promise I'm not crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't call noise complaint.
I'm only talking about the demons in one of my friend's rooms. Everything's okay.
Ooh, that's a slippery. How long is this gonna? This is gonna be this week thing, isn't it?
What, the demons?
Yeah, the demons in my hallway.
Well, it's just funny because you're home alone. It's just funny because you're home alone. I also get really paranoid when I'm home alone, so I get it as well. I will say, I think also somebody who gets paranoid when they're alone is probably going to be this Olaf. I think that this is a gank champion. I think that in a 1v1 they're not too mad, but later game it's gonna go over to Nick Nix.
Yeah, that is a flashless Olaf as well. So Meow Meow Mix got punished for first blood in game number 2. Flashless on the Mundo. So we'll see how Laneless decides to path on that same Maokai once more. Gonna look at the new and improved bottom lane with one change per side. The Karma should, nullify some of the damage of this poke comp early, but will be able to have some more sustain and, more importantly, survivability once 5v5s come around.
Yeah, I think that this Karma is a really good shift from the Lux. While the Lux wasn't bad, there were a lot of issues that came along with it, and I think the Karma just fights with the team a lot better as Nick Nix sees an opening.
Tried to get that parry point, but doesn't get it off just yet behind Meow Meow Mix. On the other side, I believe we have a jungle fight going on here. Is a Laneless, it's still learning, or duking it out in their own jungle, still learning. Won that brunt, trying to take away this red buff. Heppo has come up as well. Good charm to delay the sapling. Throw the Scour of the Week, though, does land the smite for Laneless. Does pick it up. Cancels out the Vault Breaker as well. Trap still learning on the wrong side is Sunday, and he's slain. First blood for Platypus.
Still learning. Is still learning that you can't do that against PIB. ends up getting caught right there, and it is a disaster. It is almost exactly what happened in game one. Happo tried to roam to help, still learning out with an invade, and it just goes over to Laneless and Platypus. That is a first blood being given over.
So another game where Primal Instinct Black pick up first blood for a solo laner.
Was that
And
3
we
of 3
don't-
now, by the way?
Three first bloods, I believe so. So a good stat to keep an eye on. I know we bring up those big time stats once we get further down in the playoffs. As Laneless, the bush camp might work out here. Hello, there's a tree in that brush. A Meow Meow Mix is flashless, and this is just such a beautifully set up kill. Bot side though, flurry of flashes here, and wow, the Karma auto will come across. Stringy Bird slays Suki Top, who can't arcane shift himself to safety this time.
Yeah, I believe the arcane shift was used offensively, which is basically rule number
Cardinal
one
sin.
as Ezreal. Do not go in with the E. Wanted the extra damage onto Confuse, but wasn't able to get it. And the top side, though, Nick and Laneless going to show that they are one of the best top jungle synergy duos in the ADL. Not the ADL, what am I saying? The RDL, the Risen Divine League. And yeah, doing a fantastic job right there. So Nick and Laneless doing a good job getting themselves a lead. You've got Platypus with the kill as well. And then Stringy Bird has the kill. I'm sure would have loved to get over to Confuse, but honestly, you're probably just happy that you got the kill as a whole.
Well, they're looking for more kills here. There's a good defensive arcane shift. TikTok, Tsuki Top keeps himself safe there. I want to talk about something with you, Bonfire, though, because we did have a very similar draft. We talked about the fact that a majority of champions in this game are returning from game number 2. But something Goferino and Gordo both highlighted is we were questioning where Nick was with that lead later in fights on that Aatrox. But this time has the Fiora in hand and can really just, you know, adapt that split push mentality a lot better if he can get a lead, which he sort of has now, is trying to show it off in this bout against Meow Meow Mix. He's trying to protect that parry point. Does have the axes flowing. There's another slam down. One more axe will get it. Dodge out from Nick. Goes pop though, and he's going under turret, and he'll find the kill, but it's traded by Nick as both top laners fall.
Beautifully played from Meow Meow Mix right there, able to protect that parry point with their live, and right there, that is the difference between the trade and not getting a kill at all. Doing a fantastic job and forcing Nick's teleport right there. Meanwhile, able to just walk back. So any trade given over for Meow Meow Mix is permanent now on Nick's. Meow Meow Mix can take these aggressive trades and have teleport still.
Look at this first buy, by the way. Or I guess it's second buy for Nick. Executioner's calling rushed to try and cancel out that low health healing for Olaf, and it's kind of like the Olaf tax.
Yeah, I look, it's a very good job, a very good pick against the Olaf. The question is it going to stunt this Fiora? We will have to see, as this first dragon, again, a priority for IDN. Also, a side note, while we have time, the person who was on the balcony has now left the balcony. And so I am free to say anything I would ever want.
Anything you'd ever want that can be allowed on a Risen broadcast, so it's still...
Okay, all right, not anything, just I could say things like Meow Meow Mix and not look like I'm going insane.
Well, you know, we talked about stats earlier, Bonfire, as Platypus lands another good combo to get a Splinter charge off Heppo. 3 for 3 first bloods have gone the way of Primal Instinct Black this game. 3 for 3 first Drake secures, pre-10 minutes, mind you, for IDN now in this matchup.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of the kills, it feels like actually all of the kills have gone over to the top side of the map, the first bloods, and so that still leaves Confused and Stringy Bird with push every single time, and the dragon falls afterwards. And so interesting strategies for both of these teams playing through their strongest lanes, as like Magic, it does seem like Laneless wants to play through one of his strongest players, Nick.
He has an Nature's Grasp, but we also have Ragnarok available for Meow Meow Mix, who doesn't get CC, does step too far forward. Laneless does immediately proc the CC immune ult for Olaf, and yep, just uses it defensively. So Laneless with one show and one root forces Meow Meow Mix back.
Yeah, I will say Meow Meow Mix does have teleport. Yes, it's not fun to have to use the Ragnarok right there, but all things considered, you get knowledge of where that Maokai is, and it's not the end of the world, as Meow Meow Mix isn't teleporting for this. Instead, I mean, I think it's going to lose a couple minion years because of it, but has knowledge that isn't going to lose too much of a wave, and instead is saving it for something more important.
And Laneless is going to use that to just immediately jump on the Rift Herald. We see Janakar has roamed up here to help out with it, just to hit those vital points on the back of Shelly. So PIB are going to pick up that Rift Herald, but the answer for Still Learning is an invade.
Yeah, able to take this blue buff. Like I said, kind of table scraps right there, but it isn't the end of the world. Able to clear some vision as well. Get a little bit of a CS, some CS back, as Laneless was doing very good in the CS department. But they are going to lose Rift Herald, like you talked about, and so it's not an even trade, I don't think.
We're starting to see the theme once more of this map really being split down the middle for priority. It's IDN once again wanting to prioritize bot, but mid is the focus here. Cease and desist. We've seen this combo before. Into the charm. Platypus immediately flashes. Good scatter of the weak, and it's going to be enough for him to survive that first cease and desist combo.
Woo! Very good job from Platypus right there. Slayer, where's Perry? Surviving. That's where Perry is.
Yeah, do you mean? Oh, I get. How did I not clock
Perry,
a Phineas and
not
Ferb
Perry,
joke?
the NACL player.
You knew that's where my brain went first. I'm
Yeah,
like, what
I
is he
realized.
talking about? Well, what needs to be talked about now is an ultimate trade in the top lane. There's the old Alpha Fiora, but it doesn't matter. Meow Meow just runs him down.
Not even close right there. Meow Meow Mix. Dethroning the king. Nick Nix has been one of the best players in this series so far. I feel like everybody's had something to say positively about Nix, but right there, not even close. I think Fiora still needs some time to scale up, and that Olaf starting to become a problem. 2-2.
I love how both of them have bought Executioner's Callings. They're both like, no, you don't get to heal in this lane, because they know both of their opposing kits can heal to change the tide of a fight.
Yeah. I also want to give credit to Meow Meow Mix playing so well around these parries, just not giving this Fiora the passive. It feels so bad if they're the Fiora. Stringy Bird.
Here comes an angry tree. Nature's Grasp will root up and can fuse. There's the True Shot Barrage, and the E forward from Suki Top secures him a big kill.
I thought Stringy Bird was the target, but it was actually Ken Fused. Ends up falling right there, and he gets the cannon. Feels good. Still Learning should be able to get themselves away along with Heppo. So everybody roams down just to see everybody walk away. But at the end of the day, Ken Fused falls. And what it felt like a pretty dominant bot lane for IDN finds themselves even this game.
And that means we're pretty near even on the gold count once more. Would you have it any other way with the series we've had today?
What is Meow Meow Mix saving their teleport for? It is now
gotta be a flip
11
flop.
minutes. Yeah, but it's 11 minutes and they haven't used it once. At this point, you have to save it because you're not going to get it up in time for when there's going to be a possible blank opportunity. But Nick Nix has been able to teleport and get it back in the time that Meow Meow Mix has not used their teleport. They've also lost some waves on it as well. Albeit they are still up in CS, but I don't know why they haven't used teleport yet.
Well, we'll have to track that as this game rumbles on forward. Bot lane still the focus, is Still Learning will show up, but is spotted on that Tri-Brush ward, so that should keep Suki Top and Janikar safe. But it's the Drake that is the lure of the eye when it comes to Still Learning, and he's about to walk into a Death Brush certified of laneless. Pops the ball breaker, and oh, look at this, he just flashes forward. They're going for Platypus. You thought I was gone, but I'm catching your mid laner out. Platypus falls to Heppo. Still Learning very low, will be traded out by laneless, but Heppo might have enough damage to just carry on forward. But look what bot lane roams up first. It's PIB that shows up to try and cancel out Heppo. Big Mod soon used offensively to cancel Heppo away from his squad, and that is enough to turn the tide and turn the fight. But laneless isn't done. Knocks back into the True Shot Barrage. What a combo for Suki Top's double kill.
Beautiful play from Laneless right there. Just trust in their teammates. Knowledge that people were going to be there. It started really good for Heppo and Still Learning. I feel like they played that so well to start it off. But man, that turn from Laneless and the first roam from the bot lane is just so beautiful. So Meow Meow Mix has to teleport here, you'd have to imagine.
You are so focused on
I'm almost
Yeah,
tunneling at this point. I'm spiraling, Slayer. Help me.
Well, you know, focus on mid lane, because
Okay.
not only did Laneless pick up second Drake, he let Rift Herald crash to give some extra gold over to Platypus as well, but they might have to dodge another combo from Still Learning and Heppo. Cease and Desist is up, but Spirit Rush is not, and Platypus will survive another day, as once again, Meow Meow Mix walks back to lane.
I was about to say that. What Meow Meow Mix refuses to use this teleport. I will say at this point, I understand it. You're saving it for a TP potential into the bot lane. You again still have the TP advantage on Nick Nix, who has now used it twice tier 0. But I understand it at this point a little bit more than earlier. Because I feel like at a certain point you use the teleport at like 11 minutes, 10 minutes, so that you're going to get it up at the 14-minute mark when it turns into the Unleashed teleport.
No,
Or
it
no, you're
turns
right. It does
Unleashed
turn earlier.
earlier. Mhm.
Well, still not using the teleport.
Not using the teleport yet. Could potentially use that for a big play across the map, and I would assume it would target Suki Top, who does get rooted up.
Oh
Oh my
my
god, Chains of
goodness.
Corruption, Lethality, Varus nearly claims a victim.
Yeah, that is the damage of Lethality Varus. And that's why you really can't count Confused out. Sure, they're down 0 and 2, but just goes to show that it doesn't really matter when it's Confused. Heppo!
He wits the charm and the whole combo, so has to use Spirit Rush defensively when he was likely looking to use it offensively.
Yeah, I think that if you don't use Spirit Rush there, you get ulted and you die. Platypus knows that
Ooh,
still
wow.
learning's
There's
not.
no ward in that bush, and look at that, he cancels out the cease and desist, but the flash charm is enough. Platypus trying everything he can to avoid the death, but he still falls. But look at top lane, Meow Meow Mix, that's a double as he shreds the tree in the Fiora.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't really care about the teleport. Meow Meow Mix doesn't. No need for teleport when you just never have to back because you get the kills yourself. Meow Meow Mix playing this Olaf to perfection. The gold lead is even, but man, is Meow Meow Mix ahead.
Oh, another arcade shift forward. Suki Top wants to earn himself a solo kill. He does force the heal out from Stringy Bird.
And the flash.
And a flash. And we're starting to see.
Oh.
True shot barrage nearly claims a victim, but Suki Top is slowly morphing into the focal point for Primal Instinct Black's mid game.
Yeah, Suki Top's going to have to be the damage. I'm concerned about Meow Meow Mix just running down this Ezreal, but if you're able to kite out like many Ezreals are able to on this Olaf, that's what it's going to have to be. I'm just so worried because this Olaf is an absolute problem at this point and is walking back to lane. Although there's no need to teleport, so I get it.
Oh my god, there's gonna be like champagne popped when Bonfire sees Meow Meow Mix teleport for the first time.
It is 15.5 minutes. I just never see this, I feel like. But yes, I'm definitely focusing on this too much, and I'm sorry for everyone in the chat who's like, can this guy shut up about that damn teleport? It's just, it's crazy to me right now. But I should probably focus on other parts of the game, like the fact that Heppo quietly is 2-1.
Yeah, it's been a real big recipient of Still Learning's attention. I just feel bad for Platypus because he really outplayed the normal Vi combo. I mean, he predicted Still Learning was in that brush, stunned him up. Stopwatch is the cease and desist, and now he's gonna try and pick off Stringy Bird. Unleash power a little early, doesn't carry the damage over yet. Flashes forward to secure it with that death ball, and will pick it up. But look at bot side. Oh my god, it's just a massacre, a double kill for Ken Fuse as he chops up PIB like liver.
Yeah, Ken Fuse cannot be counted out of any game you see them in. Was 0-2, now they're 2-2, including an assist. Same in the DCS department as well, and are about to knock down a tower. So Confuse having an unbelievable game alongside Still Learning. The gold lead in IDN's favor. The teleport being used, and I believe that's Nick Nick's.
No, that's Nick Nick's teleporting bot. Here's the teleport back, but how late is it? Because there goes Confused already. Still Learning is finally here, and finally Meow Mix shows up, and he's able to trade out his fallen comrade. It's laneless to Fallen. Meow Meow Mix is 1-for-1 on kills when teleporting.
Meow Meow Mix. I'm so happy. I'm just so happy. Yeah, needed, necessary, used. And look, maybe it's quality over quantity in terms of the teleports used from Meow Meow Mix.
Is now 5-1-2 on this Olaf, who, albeit will have a timer, but that timer does not blow up anytime soon. This Olaf will be a scary sight as we continue to talk about focal points in this big-time Game 3 to see who can come out on top.
Yeah, this Dragon's gonna be one of them. Dragon stacking has honestly been one of the bigger parts of this series. Feels like IDN has their sights set on the mythical beast every time it spawns in. And PIB's just always kind of playing catch-up. And right now they're playing catch-up to the tune of 2-1.
For anybody that's curious, the Splinter count update, I'm going to give it for Platypus. He has 3 of the 5 upgrades at 82, so that's Scatter the Weak now. Slows if he doesn't land the stun. He has the true damage on the W drop, and has extra spears in tow. I love the rework from Syndra, so I always love checking on that as games progress.
You're a big Syndra guy. It's kind of been one of your progressions. If you don't know, Slayer, Ezreal main ADC player, has moved his way over to the mid lane recently, as he hit plat. Congratulations, by the way, and has been
Wow,
playing a lot of
thanks.
Ahri and Syndra. And you like your AP mid laners.
Yeah, I mean, they're strong, and I'm a big fan of just deleting 80 carries. It makes me feel better about when I get deleted when I'm playing 80 carry. Speaking of that, Suki top, that Arcane Shift kept him safe from Heppo, who nearly landed a charm to blow up his 80 carry Ezreal, but nothing to come of that.
Able to survive. That's why you love your Ezreal. I like seeing laneless just sometimes throw little beads across the map because of the saplings. It's very funny to look at. What's not funny is how much damage Confuse takes right there, but able to, again, just stick to the outskirts with this poke, this poke style Varus, and so I don't think is too concerned about losing the health bars. I'm excited to see Nick start to get back into this game soon, as right now is just getting destroyed by this Olaf.
Yeah, for the first time in this series, it's been all about those 5v5 team fights. This is the game where we're really going to see how these teams can 4v4, which side lane opponent can do a lot, because right now Meow is controlling that side lane. But it could come down to Nicknix as well. Look at this flank from Still Learning. Suki tops the target, cease and desist. The Arcade's just back under turret. Can they burn him down? He's saving them under turret. The Monsoon is burning, but Confused pops him before he can heal it through.
There goes the Ezreal, Still Learning on this Viad problem. Laneless here, though.
Here's Nature's Grass trying to grab onto Stringy Bird, who's slowly running away. Has to flash the route to save himself, but he will be kept safe.
Not as important of a flash being down as Confused would be. Obviously not fun to give up that flash, but even worse to give up a kill. Be able to survive right there. And for the next team fight, obviously, again, not thrilled to be flashless, but all of the summoners up for Confused, which is pretty essential. By the way, totally didn't realize Suki top has teleport, so that is triple teleport for PIB.
Yeah, there's a lot of summoners you can rock with Ezreal depending on your matchup, and I guess Suki top felt like he wanted the ability to get back to lane quick enough and get that farm to keep even against this very heavy poke comp. I certainly can respect it with Janakar running heal. Ghost is not something you ever run on Ezreal. I can respect the cleanse pick on any AD carry, exhaust if you want to be really aggressive. There's a lot of options with Ezreal. That's why he's one of my favorite AD carries. You can do so much with his builds, his summoners, really anything.
Love letter to Ezreal. I respect it. As we have ourselves a potential fight right here.
Potentially. That was Yomu's popped by Confused to try and set up a big piercing arrow. He's trying to protect that mid turret that will fall. Baron is now up, but I don't think either of these teams feel strong enough to take a shot at it just yet.
Yeah, it's been early Barons in the first two games, but this one could be the outlier. I don't think a lot separates these two, surprise, surprise, but the difference is I don't think there's going to be a big team fight win or loss coming soon, although I cannot wait to be proven wrong.
It's just really a poke battle right now, as Ezreal certainly loves his poke. Missed skill shots here. Heppo gonna jump forward and Still Learning. Just catches Platypus by himself, goes golden, but is popped and broken down. Stringy Bird will pick up that kill, and now they have Meow Mix cornered in front of 4 members of PIB. Pops the Grabner Rock, trying to burn him down, but he's just too squishy and will fall to the Ezreal. Suki top finds that one. A true shot barrage snipe as Stringy Bird falls as well.
Oh, it is just the sniper battle right there, and Suki top comes out on top. Hold on.
Oh my god, Laneless isn't done though. Flashing forward to try and get on top of Confused, nearly pays the price for that one. PIB is just too low to really continue this fight, but they come out of it the victors.
Yeah, I think that PIB have learned their lesson about just running head first without a care in the world into Confused and Stringy Bird, or not Stringy Bird, Heppo, excuse me. The damage that they provide is just too much, and so they hedge their bets and back themselves off. Suki top fairly strong at this point, 5-3 on the Ezreal. Meow Mix is also a problem. That was a 4v1 and was still pushing out damage. And then Confused, keep an eye on this Varus. Feels like anytime they're not focusing this Varus down, he is raining damage upon them.
A lot of interesting mythics coming across from some of these players. We have a I believe is that Radiant Virtue on Still Learning on this Vi, so utility oriented nonetheless. Suki top has gone for the more aggro mid-game power spike build. Oh my god, speaking of popped, see you later, Stringy Bird. Platypus finds that kill as both these teams jockey to try and set up for this next Drake. There's Nature's Grassed out. Heppo has the Banshee's Veil, but tries to use the Spirit Rush to get away from it. Nobody caught, but that zoning ultimate sets PIB up in prime real estate to take this Drake.
Yeah, but keep an eye out for Meow Meow Mix at this point. Hasn't been seen yet, trying to spot them out, and I think they are aware of it now. They're going to lose a lot mid because of it. That is going to be the trade, but there's a potential wrap, and they are going to bring Platypus over to ensure that they don't lose the tower. All confused, and Heppo can get are some camps.
Well, I'd like to quickly shout out Aegis, as they've blessed us with a raid after the Marauder League closed out their week. So hopefully everybody from Aegis, love to see you pop in, and you're about to see a very climactic conclusion to what's been a banger series to kick off the Divine League playoffs.
Yeah, if you are new to the broadcast, Game 1 went over to IDN in one of the craziest ultimates you've ever could have seen. A 5-man Yasuo ult set up by a Wukong ultimate. Game 2 went over to PIB in a 42-minute banger. This game a little bit more controlled, but knowing these two teams, it will not remain that way for long.
But look at this. The instinct macro play here is, you can see the vision. PIB have no idea until that true shot barrage hits. The Baron's being burned down, and by this point, it's way below 4K. The safety teleport from Meow Meow Mix, and Heppo might have a pick in the back line, just fronts laneless so he can't get to the pit, and it's Baron picked up for Iridescent Dawn Neon.
IDN do the right thing, and they are able to secure the Baron. Sneaky beaky. Get themselves the Baron. They're wearing purple for the next couple minutes. 12-12 in kills, 3-2 in the category of towers, 2-2 in dragons, but 1-0 in barons.
And the gold lead is somewhat substantial for IDM with that Baron picked up, but what can they do with it? It's been the least chaotic game when it comes to fighting so far. I believe the lowest kill count we've had at 25 minutes across this series, and that's just telling the story of what chaos is here for this series, and what could potentially be around for the entirety of Divine League playoffs.
Yeah, this is a fantastic start to the Divine League playoffs. This is, if you do not know, the 3 versus the 6 seed, PIB being the 3 seed, the IDN being said 6 seed with the correct logo now. That's a bit more neon, I think. And they are trying to get themselves the correct result right here. Get the upset, move on in the coveted Aegis playoffs. Not Aegis. The Divine League playoffs.
You got distracted by the raid.
I did get distracted by the raid.
It is double elim playoffs, so no elimination at stake here, just a lower bracket spot. But both these teams just jockeying, clearing waves, looking for an opening. The pressure of a game 3 is really here, but IDN haven't been able to do much with their Baron yet.
Yeah, it really feels like they're struggling going into Suki top. Ezreal, not world-renowned for their wave clear, but has done a good job mid. The issue is, when your Ezreal is mid, that leaves another part of the map open, and it is going to be the top. Suki top has to be careful. Indeed, has to Arcane Shift out of that one. Confused, does a lot of damage at this point.
Yeah, it does a lot. And we've had a lot of 5v5 games where we're seeing the 1-3-1 be utilized. Now, Heppo might have a catcher on a Janakar. Can he burn him down in time? No. Just pokes him out. The Monsoon was available. But they're all playing Distract right now for Meow Meow Mix, who quietly knocked down the tier 2 turret. But here comes the fireworks. Flashes galore. Platypus blinking. You miss it. Is off the server.
Yeah, that is a disaster as well. That's a lot of their wave clear on the Syndra. With the Baron buff as well, they have to solely rely on Suki top. Clear out those waves, and Suki top can't walk up too far. Platypus, let that be a warning. If you walk up just a little bit, the go button will be pressed. Although with a couple flashes down, I think feels a bit more comfortable.
They cleared out the mid wave, so they jockey like they want to go bot side. But Meow Meow Mix is able to keep himself safe. Laneless has so little mana for being in his own base. So gotta think he has to get that replenished before he hits the go button. Utilizes all of it on Nature's Grass just to zone off this turret as PIB desperately try to keep their base on lock.
Yeah, but Suki top and every other member of PIB just continuously getting poked out by this Varus. Honestly, this Varus is showing out to be an incredible pick as Meow Meow Mix has to run themselves away. Tick, tick, tick.
Oh,
Janna.
Oh, and
wow.
oh, look at this. Heppo nearly picks up Suki top. The flash isn't enough. Unleash Power's response into the scatter of the weak. Heppo is still safe. They just don't have enough damage to kill off that pesky fox. But can they chase him down? They're trying to desperately get close enough, but Laneless doesn't have a
Bye.
window, but there might be a window for a turn. Stunned out of the Vault Breaker, now goes forward, jumping in with the cease and desist, but they can't kill off Platypus, and Nicknix hits all the parry points on the Grand Challenge, healing the rest of his teammates, and Laneless will fall in the background.
Meow, meow.
Meow Mix trying to frontline, can't land any axes, and in the back lane, Heppo TP's in with full HP and full mana as the siege continues.
They could push the advantage here right now. They are without a jungler for 40 seconds. That's going to be at least one inhibitor. They're looking mid first, but you'd imagine that second one's going to fall soon. Suki top going to be coming soon. Nicknix.
Nicknix has the protections of Jonikar, trying to hold this bot inhibitor turret up. Meow Nick so close to finally catching it. Another Jana shield will protect it. He's just going to do it himself. Finally brunts it down. Chain of Corruption does whip from Confuse. That's a teleport out for Nicknix, but he can't go forward. Doesn't feel safe. Now finally jumping in, but can't get the combos down just yet. Trying to do living in the damage, but Nicknix might just get traded out. Ragnarok pop, and he's slain and picked off. All the while, look in the back line. Top lane inhib is gone, as well as Platypus.
Primal Instinct Black, a huge blunder right there. Nicknix fueling themselves a little bit too hard. Goes in, dies. They're not focusing on the top lane. So now they have 2 inhibitors down, an exposed inhibitor in the bot lane. Slayer, do you know what the percentage on teams who come back from getting triple inhibited is?
Oh my god, it's like, I don't know the exact percentage, but I know it's far above 80%. So it's something highlight like that.
Yeah, it's not good. You don't come back from getting triple inhibited. They're in a really preposterous situation at this point because they're just going to continuously have to turtle. And realistically, Nicknix and Suki top don't have great wave clear. Obviously, the Ezreal can throw those Qs out, but it just doesn't do great against super minions. And Nicknix on this Fiora, kind of single target damage. And so they're just going to get pushed in quite a lot. Baron in 30 seconds, I don't even know if they can contest this.
Well, they certainly are going to try. They haven't technically been triple inhibited just yet. That bot inhibitor never actually fell. So statistically, still have a bit of a sliver extra chance in this one. But Primal Instinct Black really have them backs against the wall now. Desperation is going to seep in as they have to find the winning fight.
Yeah, and they just need to protect that bot inhib with their lives. Look at how many members have to go bot because of the Meow Mix push. That's the Syndra and the Fiora who have to play pretty reserved right now. And meanwhile, they're giving up all this vision control. It is so dark right now. Caddy, I don't know if you're able to do so, but if you are, can I see what the vision looks like for them?
Oh.
They get some vision on their... They know that they're not in their jungle, sure. But that Baron is so dark.
And they only see it with the light from True Shot Barrage, but there's no way to contest it. They're instead going to try and pivot to shutting down Meow Mix, but he's able to even walk out of the bot lane without a scratch as the macro from Iridescent Dawn Neon is really on full display with purple in their kit.
Meow Mix eating good as the Viking right now. Valhalla soon to be had. 6-3-0 and just a constant side lane threat. Also, credit to Heppo for pushing in mid lane at that time. They're teleporting in. They want this to end now.
They don't want to give any sort of chance to Primal Instinct Black. And look at the poke already coming out from Suki top. Already burned down, has to go heal. This feels like the triple inhib is a for sure mark, and they will knock it down. But the rest of the minions are still pushing in on Nexus turrets. Primal Instinct Black have to go at some point. There's the Nature's Grasp. They are able to root up, still learning. They get on top of Meow Max, pops the Ragnarok frontlining, but he is a tanky fellow, but he's getting burned down. The Monsoon to protect all Primal Instinct Black, but Confuse finally picks off. Huge roots coming across as we see Heppo jumping forward. So many Zanyas, but it's a double kill for Confuse. Iridescent Dawn Neon have found the kills of the base. A triple kill for Confuse. He's zoning them all off. It's all Iridescent Dawn Neon. The upset is here early, folks. They're knocking Primal Instinct Black down to the loser's bracket.
Beautiful macro, beautiful micro. They do everything big, small, and in between. And Iridescent Dawn Neon, the little brothers of the Divine League, constantly in the shadow of Iridescent Dawn Umbra this season, show that they are still a force to be reckoned with. 6, take down 3.
What a way to start off the Divine playoffs. We've been making the meme about the demon back in my hallway, but the true demon today was Iridescent Dawn Neon in the hallway of Primal Instinct Black, completely throwing all odds, all bets, including on this broadcast team, out the window to move on in the upper bracket. It's time to break down that series win one final time with Gordo and Goferino.
Thank you very much, Slayer and Bonfire, as we are back onto the desk one more time. A 2-1 victory for Iridescent Dawn Neon as they take themselves the upset and they take themselves a trip to the winner's side semifinals.
A fairly big upset here. The number 6 taking out the number 3 in overall rankings, I believe. Either way, though, pretty crazy here, and a lot of grit coming through from Iridescent Dawn Neon, to say the least, because these were some long games through and through, but they're able to bring out the 2-1 tonight, Gordo, and take themselves on to that second round. Oh,
Yeah, and we
there's
are
replay.
already okay. I thought we were getting right into the
I thought we were
replay. I
getting
was like, "Hey, Dan,
yeah.
Kenny wants to go to bed, man." And they're gonna check out the post game breakdown first here, so we can see neck and neck for the longest time, like nearly 24 minutes into the game, and the gold lead was completely negligible. But then they start winning the fights. They start getting the opportunities to play around their Olaf and their Varus, and they win fight after fight after fight and take themselves a massive lead by 32 minutes.
Yeah, it's just really in those final 5 minutes where things start to spiral out of control, pick after pick picked up by the side of Iridescent Dawn Neon. No pun intended there, but it kind of felt like, because I was writing down notes, like, trying to do it every time something big happened, and half of them are like, oh, you know what? Still learning pressed Vi ultimate on someone, and there's follow up, and they died. It's like, yeah, that was just kind of the story of this game when it came to the mid and later stages of the game. It felt.
Definitely the case here. Casters proven wrong across the board in our predictions. It was a clean sweep for Primal Instinct Goferino, and we end up nobody taking home any points, which is kind of just the same thing as me taking home some points. So I'm still sitting in the lead.
This is an extreme cap.
It's like this is the place for extreme cap. Goferino.
Right.
This is if I'm on the desk, this is
10-gallon caps there. You fit right in.
exactly. I get to I'm gonna
Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna listen. If you give me this kind of platform, I'm just here to talk on the desk. I'm not even standing right now like I do to cast. I'm comfortable in my chair. I'll spout off anything. As it looks like we're getting ready to get into our very first replay here. This is from about 13 minutes into the game. This is where it was looking like a lead starting to build up here for the side of Primal Instinct, and Platypus starts it off by finding Still Learning and blocking that ultimate with his stasis, but will end up charmed up and will end up going down.
Yeah, and right off the back of this, just Meow Meow Mix. This is Olaf top for you. It's kind of like Darius in a sense, where it's really hard to play the early game against him, and you really can't with some champions. And like that was the start of like this Olaf getting really out of control going into the game. And just we saw in the damage graph too that Nick's PR really just never got to take off, ending the game with like lowest damage. Not what you want for the PR, but when you're against that fed of an Olaf that gets a double kill like that in a 1v2, that's kind of expected for your stats.
I'm pretty sure Meow Meow Mix is in Twitch chat begging us to show that replay right now. So there you go, my man. We got a little something for you on top of the series win as we are going to get into our second replay. We were able to pull 3 replays from this game, folks. It was a real long one, real neck and neck the whole way through. But let's check out this play here where Platypus, once again, is the one trying to get the fight started, but finds himself charmed, finds himself Vide, and is going to go down for it.
Yeah, that one was definitely an overstep from Platypus, because they saw all the members there, and it is just you on your lonesome. If you are able to go 1-for-1, though, that is pretty juicy. You take down a Baron buff, and you're probably going to shut down there to boot. We can just see this continuing. Baron means just sieging on in. And it's 4 versus 5, so this is going to be a really hard one to fight, especially with now that you have an out of mana mount. So this is just going to keep going. This is going to keep going. Like, this is a really long replay, I know. Like, should we have picked it? I don't know, but
Listen. We take what we take. Never second guess yourself on the day analyst desk, Goverino. Is they do end up with the trade once again, and Platypus off the respawn, start to fight once again.
Yep, and the kite back means that it's just so hard to chase. And here's another vault breaker. This gets stopped, but you know, you're already ahead in this game if you're IDN, and you can just look to. Oh no, Still Learning does die. Okay, my memory served me poorly here.
We're
It's
actually
been a
just going to watch the rest of the game this way.
I mean, it's been a long night. I kind of forgotten. This was such a long replay, but biggest thing is a lot of aggression coming out from Primal Instinct Black. They're trying to recuperate some losses, but I mean, IDN, they had the lead there, and Iridescent Dawn just able to kind of kick him back in the throat, and that's when they cracked open the base and really just put this game on a. How is it? Put this game on a. What's the saying? I don't know. There's a saying. They put themselves in a very good
Ice.
position.
Yeah. They locked it down. They claimed the dub. They did a whole bunch of different things. As we've got one last replay of the very final fight to check on out before we're going to close out for the night. Take us in, Caddy. We are pushing on the base. We are taking that dreaded third inhibitor here for Iridescent Dawn Neon.
Yep, just gonna be grabbing that in just a second. Just a second. Okay, a little bit of a second there. And here
Statistically,
is
the game's
final
over
fight.
there.
Yep. Just one last Hail Mary. And would you know that it's Olaf League of Legends? And it's a very fed Olaf League of Legends hopping into the back line. You're down 8K. Able to get the 1-for-1 initially? Or no, sorry. It was the 1-for-0 initially. And it's just a slaughter afterwards. You see all this AoE damage coming in from those Varus Qs, the piercing arrows. And yep, that's just gonna bring it home here. Don't mind the fact that the Nexus has already been destroyed.
Lethality Varus damage just goes crazy, man. As
I mean,
that's a
especially
huge
with-
factor in the back two games for Iridescent Dawn Neon. Nearly getting them the clean sweep, but they end up having to take it back to a third game. They earn themselves that victory, though. Gonna go 2-1 as they move themselves up to the winner's side semifinals. Primal Instinct Black, they are not done yet. They are gonna drop down to the loser's bracket, where they will continue to fight for their life as long as they can manage to stay alive here in the Risen Divine League. Maybe it'll be a short time, maybe it'll be a long time. That sits with Primal Instinct Black and their upcoming opponents in the future weeks. But that is going to do it for this week of the Risen Divine League. Thank you, everybody, for tuning on in. We're going to be back throughout the week with more Risen Leagues, and we will be back next Tuesday with the next round of playoffs. But until then, from myself, from Goferino, from Slayer and Bonfire on the caster desk, and from Caddy on production, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next time.